Morning, everyone. Hey. Thanks for coming for our training on workplace violence prevention. Prevention, Jeff. And I just want to introduce Curtis. Curtis is a longtime friend and volunteer of the mission who's been volunteering with us for many years in different capacities. Also a close friend of mine. And he's here to kind of teach us great tactics on preventing and how to de-escalate situations when it comes about in our ministries. So thank you, Curtis, for joining us and teaching us and training us. Curtis.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here. We had a lot of fun yesterday. I have a feeling that what happened yesterday has gotten around already to you guys, at least partially. So before we get started, I'd like to open us up in prayer. Father, thank you so much for an opportunity that we all have to serve you, to listen to you, to find out what it is that you want us to know that we don't know right now, to do this in a safe environment so that we can take the information and act on it out in the kingdom that brings glory to you, Father. So with all gratitude, I just say thank you. Help us to understand this, and at the same time, have a real good time in fellowship with each other. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. So I have been volunteering with the mission for quite a while in different ways. There's been gaps where I haven't been around, haven't felt God nudging me that direction, but this class was a really good opportunity to reconnect with you guys. I'm part of the Nomadic Shelter Experience at New Life Christian Fellowship. That's my home church. I've been there for about 10 years. And I think a lot of you guys have been to New Life with the Nomadic Shelter program or others. But today is awesome for me because my background is as a firefighter paramedic that got into training. So I took a lot of courses, got a teaching credential, that kind of thing, and ended up teaching at the JC full time. For 7 years, I was teaching 15 units a semester. And that environment's awesome, but not as awesome as this, because I get to share my faith, which drives everything that I do. And I know you're open to that, and hopefully you will share your stories with me so we all can benefit in this environment. You may think that I'm going to teach this. I'm more facilitating this course. It's a compilation of my life experiences as a firefighter paramedic, as well as tapping into two people I consider experts that are both family members of mine. My daughter's an ER nurse at Memorial Hospital, and my daughter-in-law is a psychologist who is a professor at University of San Francisco and has her own private practice. So I've tried to pull information from a lot of different places and put it in to a product that translates for our ministry here. I understand fully that you have multiple ministries. Some go out into the field. I was part of the shower ministry for years. Some go to churches. Some go to the fairgrounds. Some are here. Some are in recovery. You know your programs better than I do. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, but I'm going to try and address as many concerns that you might have. And if I don't, please raise your hand. This is an open environment. If you have a question, please interrupt me. Let me know. I'll call on you. Your question would be beneficial, I think, for everybody. And I want to emphasize that this is not a lecture. Lectures don't work. This is a discussion. You're going to see information from a PowerPoint I put together. You have the notes in front of you. Feel free to take notes. But really where the learning takes place is when you ask a question and either I answer it or another person here answers it based on their experience and wisdom. So please, I really want you to be part of this. I want you to participate. Does that make sense? Okay. We have two distinct phases today. The information part, you're going to see it on the TV, but we also we're going to take a break after that. It'll take about an hour and 45 minutes to do this. We'll take about a 15-minute break, and then we're going to get into what I call simulations. In the training world, they're called role playing. So somebody's going to assume the role of somebody on the edge. We've all dealt with that, right? Maybe not here, maybe at home, maybe out in the world. Maybe we're all seeing that. There's conflict, and we're going to talk about how to de-escalate that. We're going to learn strategies. You're going to share with me what works, what you did that didn't work. I have a large inventory of things that I tried that didn't work, and I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to do that in a safe environment. Some people kind of feel intimidated by this dynamic because when we start the simulation, it is dynamic. Things change. And it's, for some people, it's as though they're actually in that environment. Like it's actually happening. And there's going to be, you may have a bit of an emotional response. I hope you do have a bit of an emotional response because that means that it's working. Now I'm hearing feedback already from yesterday's class, and I think some folks were a little reluctant going into it, but I had full participation, and that was a really good thing, and they felt like they actually learned something from that. So that's how we're going to do today. It's going to take about 4 hours. We'll finish around noon. All right. Dan's got a certificate to verify you're a part of this training. This training is mandated by the state starting July 1st. And this is going to satisfy that, but I don't really care personally as an instructor about that part of it as much as I do making this the best experience you could possibly have. All right, does that make sense? Small group Bible study right now, and I'm only mentioning it because I never thought I'd be interested in this topic. I didn't choose it, somebody else chose it, and it's living life with your adult children. And I can't tell you how powerful that is. It is a beautiful thing, being with your adult kids, no doubt about it. It's a blessing. But it also has its associated challenges, which diving into scripture on that and talking about it with other friends is really, really powerful. Thanks, you guys. I feel like I know you a little bit better now, which is cool. We're going to get into the actual, what you might call, program. And I base a lot of what I put together on this from Proverbs. Choose this scripture, do you think? Why this one? Willie?
Well, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Unless he builds the house, you don't accomplish anything.
Absolutely. Perfect. Malika, you had a comment too?
I was just saying, in any kind of conflict, you need to have wisdom and good sense.
Both you guys, exactly. That is precisely why I chose this, because I have worked with enough new volunteers in these kind of ministries, whether it was with my church going to Mexico on mission trips or new firefighter paramedics coming in where I was supervising them. So many different environments where they were a little bit naive to what could possibly happen out there, and that naivety was needed to be addressed with knowledge. The truth is you go out into the field or even here or with the showers, there is a risk associated with that. Is that true? Do you believe that? Is there a risk? Am I exaggerating that? There's a risk. As you leave here or even here, as guests come in, trip shop, mission, recovery, mana, shower trailers. Is there a risk associated with that? We need to establish that as a baseline here, because that's where the knowledge and the wisdom comes in good sense, okay? Because I was leading some volunteers and they were haphazardly going into environments that weren't particularly safe. And that meant we had to have a little orientation. And that's the whole idea of what this is about, is we're going to talk about some of the situations we've all been in, how we could address that, what worked, what didn't work. And at the end of the day, we're going to be better off for it. That's my goal. So we don't want to get to that point, this cartoon character. We don't want our guests, anybody we interact with, coworkers, guests, we don't want it to get to this point, because I don't know if this has happened to you. Have you had an experience where, I don't want to say you're out of control, but your judgment was impaired, you weren't seeing the full picture, your emotions are now taking over. Have you been in that situation? Is that comfortable?
No.
It's incredibly uncomfortable. In my work as a firefighter paramedic, I trained in South Central LA. My paramedic internship was in Richmond. I worked per diem in San Francisco, and my main job was in Marin County. And I wasn't, in the beginning, adequately prepared for some of the stuff I was going to see. Right? And that's extreme, but guess what? I consider each and every one of you guys to be first responders. I want you to think about it in that way if you can. That may be a paradigm shift for you, but I really feel that you are ministering in that capacity. I feel that strongly. You're ministering to people that maybe are freshly out of jail, maybe people that need to go into recovery, maybe they're in recovery. You have folks that you are, in a sense, charge of, that have a variety of very special things that you can provide. You are a first responder. If you think about it like that, I think it's going to be helpful in a lot of different ways that we're going to talk about throughout this program. Some of the information I got were from these people, so I'm going to give them a citation here. These folks are very active in matters that we're going to talk about today, de-escalation. You can go to their website. It's listed down here, or you can call them if you want some material. They're very helpful. These are the folks that trained my daughter. I told you she's a registered nurse, and she actually has had a lot of incidents in the ER where her de-escalation skills paid off, as you can imagine. Have you guys been in the ER lately? Have you? It's the ER has changed over the years. It's sort of a dumping ground now, of sorts.
Sort of a what?
A dumping ground. There's no other place to put them, so they end up in the ER. I was part of that system that did that. But really, that's not what they need sometimes. They need to go somewhere else. But maybe that place isn't available to them, or we can't get them there. But they end up in the ER. So they're dealing with de-escalation quite a bit. There's quite a few items on here. This is what we're covering. You can call this a roadmap of sorts. I do list respect at the top for a very good reason. We're going to spend a lot of time on that topic. But this is where we're headed, literally, in this talk, right here. Okay. This environment, known as Redwood Gospel Mission, I'm familiar enough with it to know that you guys value respect. That is huge. If I was training you guys to be respectful to somebody that is on the edge, but you aren't being respected in your workplace, we have a bit of a problem. Do you see that dynamic? But I have never been disrespected here. I've not seen disrespect. I see the way you handle folks. I was in the shower ministry for, I think, 3 years. And I worked with employees of the mission. I was a volunteer. And I'm telling you, the grace that I saw exhibited was impressive. I know that you were meant to be in that capacity, because there are times when it's hard to show respect. But I saw it. I mean, we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. But what I saw was, and it starts at the top, the organization promotes respect, and you get it. You don't need a formal lesson plan for that. You get how this works. You're valued. If you feel valued, you're being respected. And I think that's impressive. I was part of an organization that wasn't like that at all, to be honest with you. And it was obvious, and it was reflected in the service that we provided. So it starts here. It starts here with respect. It is a cycle. If you're getting disrespected, by the way, some of the homicides that I worked, I say I worked, I'm not a cop, but they were clinically alive when I got there, so this is why I'm working it. And you find out from bystanders or family members what's at the core of this assault, the shooting, the knifing, or whatever. And you often hear this word. You hear you're being disrespected. People act out if they feel disrespected. None of us want to feel devalued. And it does cause changes in us that sometimes manifest in aggressive behavior. So I know I've spent a lot of time on this word, but I think it's critical. There's 2 words I want you to leave today with: respect and love. Respect and God's love. Respect and love. Key points throughout the whole day. Everything up here, everything we do. Respect and love. It's not a hard thing to be respectful if you're being respected. What value does this statement have when you're now dealing with somebody on the edge who's potentially going to act out and become violent? What value does this statement have? Jeff?
Well, I would flip it around. It's easier for them to respect us if we're acting respectfully toward them.
Do you think that breaks through that tension that you feel? Absolutely. That is the thing that breaks through it. People have told me, well, I can't reach this person. They're high. I disagree. I'm not going to say it works every time. There is no universal strategy, folks. But I will say that if they're high, if they're mentally ill, you respect them, they will feel that. They will feel that. That's your introduction to your ministry, is respecting them. And that gets into judgment. We'll get to that in a minute. Like Jeff said, if I'm disrespecting somebody, or it's perceived as me disrespecting them, and that's an interesting sub-point here. What I can expect to see from that person is this. Has anybody here been assaulted? Does anybody want to share what that was like? Jeff, you want to?
Well, it's a little embarrassing, actually.
Well, you don't have to if you don't want to.
So, but the people around me know, I don't shy from, being a fool. So a man was outside the gate of our women's shelter, not here, but at a previous ministry, and was seeking to get his girlfriend out of the shelter. And little story behind it, but I decided that I was going to go and let him know that she didn't want to come out and he needed to go away. So he let me know that I couldn't leave, that I couldn't go home, that he would be waiting there for me.
Really?
So instead of calling the police, I decided when it was time to leave that I would leave. And then he let me know that he really meant what he said. And so he hit me.
Really?
And then I decided maybe it would be a good thing to turn the other cheek. And so he hit that one too. And pretty soon, he hit me enough that I wasn't necessarily conscious.
Wow.
And then somebody else called the police.
Wow.
So that was, yeah.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I've been assaulted, but I can't say that in that way. I mean, mostly I've been vomited on and spit on and pushed in my work as a paramedic.
Oh, do we count those as assault? Sorry.
It's funny you should say that because according to the state's policy, any verbal threat is considered reportable, which is interesting to me. So thank you for giving me that information because I was unaware of some of that stuff. Rather than break down what happened to you, when you analyze these situations, it's easy to say I could have done this one different, right? But I think I would have done exactly what you did in that case, probably. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, it's, hindsight.
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
I am probably a little more inclined. I'm probably a little more inclined to call the authorities now than I was then.
Okay. That's something we're going to actually deal with when we do the simulations is, should you call 911 given what you just saw, or should you not? Should you file an incident report, or should you not? What's the follow-up actions? Can you transport this person to a facility that they actually would benefit from, or should you not? Where do you leave this thing? At a certain point, you're like, I tried the best I could. They just left the store, and that's all I can do. Well, that may be the case, but there may be something else you could do. And we'll talk about some of those options as we go. This one is so critical. Have you ever wanted to evangelize to somebody? You felt that God was nudging you and saying, hey, they need to hear the word of God right now. And you're racking your brain on what to say, and you say something, and it didn't work. It's similar in that here. I have learned that you don't need to find the exact right words in de-escalation. But you can't rush in and say a whole bunch of stuff at the wrong time because that's going to throw gasoline on an already smoldering fire. So it's more of a sense. I can't give you a lot of guidance on this other than as we work this out, you're going to see in the moment that I probably shouldn't have said that. I should have just listened. I probably should have just listened. I felt like I had to do something, so I rushed in and I said something, and I'm like, oh, how do I undo that? You know how you undo it? You say, I'm sorry. I should not have said that. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm here for you. Can I just listen to what you have to say? So, again, it's a nuance. We'll experiment with that today. We'll see what works. We'll see what doesn't work. So the experts have a number, a percentage that seems to change a wee bit. The amount of communication that is nonverbal is higher than verbal. We can rest on that. I've heard numbers from 80 to 95% of all communication are not words. Wow, that's mind-boggling. What does that tell us? If that's true, and we're now interacting with somebody who's on the edge, what does that tell us, Malika?
We need to pay attention to not what they're saying, but how they're acting or what they're doing.
Yep, absolutely. Willie?
And also, I try to practice to be quick to listen, hear what they're saying, slow to speak.
James?
Not everything needs an answer like them, and especially slow to anger. Don't get mad over the situation. It doesn't help. Doesn't help.
Are you studying James right now?
Well, no, I know the book well.
Yeah.
But any of our guys who've worked in, I can't think of the department. Christian has worked in that department. Old Richard worked that department. Guest services. I've seen these men in action. I've learned from them.
Mm-hmm.
When their hair is being blown back, they patiently wait until they're done, and then say, "Okay, how can we help you?" And it just nips in the bud. Well, I need some socks, and I need this, and do you have any water?
Yeah.
And it just levels the whole field, rather than reacting in a manner that, because our nature, we want to just. And I learned from them, because watching them, when I first got at the mission, I would watch them do this, and I would want to rise up and push them out of the way and smack them.
Right.
But then I'm just as fault as the one that's blowing air.
Yeah.
So, and one last thing, Tom and I used to deal with a lot of people going through the trash here in the morning,
Yeah.
and we drive up, instead of going, "Hey," we drive up and go, hey, can I ask you a question? Yeah, sure. Hey, when you're done taking that out, can you put it back in the container? Oh, by the way, what's your name?
Yeah.
Oh, John, hey, do you want a cup of coffee? And so we get to know who he is, and sure enough, he puts it back in, and then we even find out, today's my birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday. But they leave this property with a feeling of somebody's, what's the word I'm looking for?
They're valued.
Value. They leave this property with, everybody wants to feel valued. So
Are these people not worthy of valuing?
everybody's,
Absolutely. Are you
Everybody
better
is.
than them?
we're all made in the image
Does
of God.
God love you more than them?
No.
Of course not. Do we need to be reminded of that sometimes?
Yes.
Why is it that we're that broken? But let's acknowledge that we are. But by God's grace, all right, we are capable of significantly better behavior than that. When we, as a species, accept that God loves everybody, we're better off. For me, it's a reminder that whatever circumstance I'm in that I'm so happy about, God doesn't love me anymore. Guess what? He always loves me, even when I do something bad. That's so hard for me to accept. I struggle with that. I'm going to be honest with you. That's a thing that's on my mind all the time. I am broken. I do things that I shouldn't do. And yeah, he loves me. That kind of love is indescribable. I did a bad job of it right now, but you guys know what I'm talking about because you feel that love. We do. We Christians feel that. Watch out for your body language. It can be an agitator. If it's tense, if it's large, because of that darn camera, I can't do what I want to do right now. But as I'm standing over Malika, and I'm in her personal space, I haven't said anything offensive, but I am right here over her. And if she's on the edge, what's this going to do to her? What's it going to do? It's natural. What's going to happen? Did you feel, as I approached you, did you feel a little bit of emotion? Okay. Okay, that one didn't work. You seem to trust me. You trusted me way too early. Eventually, we'll have that. No, just kidding. You're a very trusting person.
In the past, I would have got up.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
As you approached me, I would have got up.
So what's different? How come you didn't?
Because of the environment.
Okay,
I'm in right
that
now.
makes sense. It's
I don't feel threatened by you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not a threatening person, so you judged me correctly. She could probably take me out. She's not worried about me. I don't blame her. I'd be down in a millisecond. I'd be right there. All right. So we're going to kind of talk about this as this lesson goes on. Is this an open posture? If I'm doing this with you guys, maybe this. Is this open? What is this saying?
Hurry up and get done.
Hurry up and get done. Willie, if you're acting out and I approach you like this with this stern facial expression.
I'll come back later when you're more attentive.
Exactly. That is not a valuing body posture. It's more of a I don't care about you posture. Maybe not aggressive, but it's not respectful. It's not loving. It's more about, should I even waste my time with you? Right? Okay. There are, I've identified 3 different things here. Volume, if you're in somebody's proximity and you're yelling, what effect would that have on their emotions?
They're going to feel attacked.
They are. That is absolutely true. What about cadence? What does that word even mean in communication? Cadence. It's a fancy word. I tried to find a different word, but I couldn't. Cadence. What is cadence in speech?
Sound off, 1, 2. Sound off, 3, 4.
So it's a pace.
Down, 1, 2, 3.
It's a pace. So yesterday we did a simulation and somebody is I hate to use these kind of terms, but you might as well get to know me now. A fast talker. And so we had somebody on the edge and they're a fast talker and they had so many words spit out in a minute and the person who's angry kind of worked because they're like, what are you doing? Right? And it kind of distracted them and their mood changed. There are other people who slow their cadence like I am right now. Now you had plenty of time to process what I had to say. And there's sort of a message. When you slow it down and you lower the volume, it's a message of calmness and serenity. It's not like I got to get this done. I got to say as many things as I can. I'm going to say the exact right word. Everything's going to magically change. Everything's going to be beautiful. Rainbows and unicorns will show up. So try, even though you might be amped out, because I'm telling you, if you suddenly enter an environment where somebody's about to punch somebody, you will have some emotion. Okay, and we're trying to train you to do this differently than what your normal reaction might be. And the only way we can change that natural reaction is to talk about it and learn alternative ways to deal with it. In my first few calls, I can't tell you how crazy it was for me as a new firefighter paramedic to come into the scene and see the carnage and realize that I have to do something here. Doing nothing is not an option. So I have to do something. Similar for you. You come into a situation, maybe fists are flying, maybe they're about to fly, expletives everywhere, high volume, rage. You're going to have an emotional response. The training should help you with that a bit. Chris, you had a question, brother?
Well, I had a comment on the feeling disrespected. Dismissing someone's feelings, like, because if someone feels, it doesn't matter how they feel feel that way. And saying like, I don't know why you feel that, or you shouldn't feel that way, or something like that could escalate a situation because you're not taking into account how they feel, and regardless of how they feel that way. And there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I make that mistake every day with my wife. And she's really good to tell me. So it's very helpful. And then I ended up acknowledging the emotional side of my personality. And it's helpful because there are times where I actually, some people might call it vent. I've had something happen, I want to talk about it. And when that happens, I'm not asking for a solution. I'm not asking you to tell me, well, of course that happened, dummy. You did that. I'm more like, I need to talk. You know, I've had a hard day. This happened. I just need to talk. If I have somebody out there listening and not dismissing me, to use your term, which is a good one, by the way, I feel better at the end of it. And it may seem like you're not doing a lot if you're the listener. You're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. A lot of what we do today is going to be listening. And you said listening to their feelings, of course. Absolutely. That's what it's about. And always remember this. I know as a aggressive male in a line of work that required me to be decisive and strong. Imagine that for a minute, what it must have been like in the 70s, in the world the way it was in the 70s, and I am a firefighter paramedic, expected to do things in a certain way. I actually felt that I had control of every outcome. It's an interesting thought. I really did. And the disappointment, as you can imagine, was huge when I did everything I could and somebody still didn't survive. Think about that one for a minute. I try not to go to those areas very often because I did that for 33 years, and I've had thousands of people that I've resuscitated. Think about that for a minute. And the gravity of that weighs on me to this day. I have PTSD. I'm dealing with it. I don't feel broken, by the way. I just have to put that out there. I'm not this basket case, but I am dealing with it. And that's healthy for me. But when I reflect on these incidents, they come back in my brain. All right, so the point of even bringing that up is that you will do it. There will be times where you will do everything perfectly. You will, and you'll be amazed at how perfectly you did this interaction with somebody. But it still may not end up the way you want it to end up. So it's in God's hands, right? God will empower you to minister in a really special way to people, and you'll walk away feeling it was a complete and total success. But it may not work out the way you wanted it to. Find some peace in that. Talk about it with somebody. That's when that would happen at the firehouse. I work with a Christian paramedic partner. We would pray. We didn't care. Yeah, I'm working for a government agency, big deal. My partner and I would go in a private place and we would pray. It was huge. It was huge therapy for us. And then we had the strength and the power to carry on, to resuscitate, especially children that didn't survive, and then expect to go back to the firehouse, eat a meal, and then go out on the next call, that you're expecting too much without God. Without God, that's too much. That is too much for humans to deal with. So just understand that you are, as hard as you may try to have a certain outcome, it may not go that way. That's a sad reality. Okay, we touched on this already. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I think that as you have folks working alongside you, maybe new hires, you need to model the kind of behavior you want them to have, especially as they interact with guests. It is something that you may think goes unnoticed, but I'm telling you, it goes noticed. They're watching what you do. They're going to emulate what you do, So you are a role model. Unlike what Charles Barkley said, you're a role model whether you want to be or not. And you don't have to be in management positions or leadership for that. You are a role model. Diversity is a really awesome thing. I'll touch a bit about it here. When I would go into a situation as a paramedic, firefighter, or even the ministry in the shower trailer, if something needed to be done that could be done better by a female that was working than me, then I was really thankful I had the diversity of having a female. Or if there's a cultural difference, if there's a language difference, if you have that resource, somebody that speaks that language, is that ethnicity, is that background, by all means, you're going to have an easier entry into their experience than you would. I've had many females that have been assaulted, often by their male significant other, and they don't want to see me. They don't want to see me. I have all the right intentions, but they don't want to see me. So use that. Use that today as we get into simulations. You're going to have the opportunity to not do it alone. You're going to have the prerogative to say, hey, Paul, can you help me with this? Or Malika, can you help me with this? And try and use all the resources you can, because that's reality and it's helpful. It's hard to not be judgmental because we are, after all, human beings. And our brains work in a certain way, and we group. And it's unavoidable that that's our natural response. But you got to guard against it since it kind of happens by default. There's no value in judging somebody. Don't judge them the way they're dressed, the way they look, the fact that they might be on the street, they may not be, they may... Try to avoid that. I know that it's human nature, but it's not going to help. It's going to actually make things significantly worse. You're going to communicate that even if you don't say certain words. You're going to communicate that if you're holding that in your heart. Try to refrain from judgment, and that starts with being empathetic. When you see somebody in pain, don't try and figure out why they're in pain, or boy, they sure made a lot of bad decisions in their life, right? Even though that might be natural, try to put yourself in their shoes for a minute, right, Jeff?
One of the things that we tend to say flippantly,
I don't understand why you act that way, which is saying, I think I understand why you act that way. I'm just pretending that I don't understand. But the reality is those words are absolutely true.
They are.
That's beyond my understanding, and it shows my my weakness, not somebody else's. I have a lack of understanding, and that lack of understanding should give me a less judgment, not more.
Well, I'm working on that one. I made some progress. I still do it. If I leave here today and drive home, and somebody is tailgating me, and flat, because I do the speed limit most of the time, and putting high beams on me, what's my initial response?
slam on the
No, man, no, I'm not that bad. That was 1960, man. I would do that, but God's doing a mighty work in me. I don't hit the brakes anymore, but I am irritated, right? Am I wrong? It's like I'm minding my own business. Next thing you know, I personalize it. This guy's, how lame brain is this? I think they know who I am and they're doing it on purpose to me. They don't know who I am. They don't know who I am at all. I'm just driving a car. And I got to fight that. And that's the judgmental thing. And I have to constantly remind myself, Matthew 22:38. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. I'm fighting that. It's become a part of my reality. I'm happy to say that I'm not as volatile or judgmental as I once was. It's a struggle because if you come off as judgy, I'm sorry, that's not going to work. Personal space is fun. Often space thresholds, if you will, are based on many different factors about the person you're tending to. Some cultures have zero problem with you getting like this close. And others, you better keep your distance because you're going to be ineffective. That's the mistake. It's just simply you'll be ineffective if you're in their space because they don't know what to do with that. I noticed yesterday after class, I'm talking with one of your employees. I love studying human nature. And I'm here, and this person is here, and so we're this far apart. And this person's doing this. And what do? And guess what? And next thing you know, they're doing the Michael Jackson moonwalk away from me, and I'm like, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I get it. We had a really nice 10-foot away conversation. And I realized that men in our culture, I think, are more of a threat. This isn't universal, believe me. But we tend to pose a threat to people, especially if you're big and tall and loud, like all my brother-in-laws. And so I'm backing up when it's my brother-in-laws, man. I'm doing this too. But there is something about that because what you've done is you actually prevented what you're trying to achieve. And so you got to be cognizant of that. And next time, this is fun to practice. I'm sorry, it is. Call me crazy and weird because I am. Next time you're in a social setting, get too close to somebody and see what happens. It's awesome. It really is.
Exact situation like that downtown. There was a young lady who was pretty agitated, and I went out and was just trying to be real calm with my voice and talk to her. But I realized real early on I was way too close.
Yeah.
And then she actually had to tell me that I was too close, and I said I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Backed off, and almost immediately everything kind of came down, and
wow.
So yeah, I had. It's almost learned it the hard way almost.
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
You know, she could have, you know, lashed out or anything at that point, and I realized I was just in her space, too close.
Yeah,
You know?
it's interesting. You had no ill intentions. In fact, to some people, that's a sign of endearment, and it leads to a handshake, right, or even a hug or something. Definitely take those out of the equation. All right, when you're dealing with somebody that's on the edge. They don't want you to touch them. They don't want you to hug them. They don't want you close to them. Right? Yes, Malika.
I have an autistic cousin, and it was like years ago, and his sister was doing something, and he was like, "Mom, she's in my bubble." You
Bubble,
know? And
yeah.
it was like, for me, it was like, yeah, we have this invisible
We do.
kind of bubble of personal space, and when somebody crosses it, it changes like how we react or respond or what we're going to do in whatever the situation.
It does. It does. And so we need to know that that happens. You learned that lesson. And it didn't blow up. Awesome. And what you did was critical, by the way. You apologized. You did more than just back up and give her that space. You actually said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be that close. Yeah, she's told you were too close, but still, you could have taken that offensively, right? I mean, you're doing your job. I mean, you're going out of your way to help this person, and she's critical of you. You see, this is a way of taking it. I'm glad you didn't. She's critical of you and your approach. You could have taken that personally. You did not. You just established rapport with her because of your attentiveness of what was working and what wasn't working. I know I'm putting a lot of words into this scenario, and it happened so quickly, there's no time for that. But you reacted correctly. I applaud you for that. Yeah.
Let me get this straight. So you're saying get over it? Isn't it a good response?
No.
Okay.
So you know what? Today we're going to do good example, bad example. I'm going to use you on the bad example. All right. Non-threatening verbals. This is open. This is not. This is not. This is not. Threatening. In the classroom, you're taught to never do this. Okay, Malika. I just shot her with my finger. I know it's weird, right? I have no gun. You know I don't have a gun, but I made a gun, and it looks very threatening. Look at, I mean, I see all you guys' face. See, Jeff even put his hands up, man. So you may not know it, but you may have these tendencies that others will help us learn, because we don't see all of our blind spots, folks. Right? We don't. We do not see it. And as long as it's delivered in a graceful, merciful way, it's good to hear that we do this or we do that. I didn't know I did that. Wow, thank you. I need to work on that. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. And that's how, when we do the simulations, you'll hear a few comments like that. You may not even know that you do that. Crazy. Overreacting is generally a response of expecting to be treated fairly. I'm trying to help. Paul's trying to help. Can't you see? I'm just trying to help. And there's a level of frustration that translates into frustration, not really being now attentive to what's going on in this environment. Do not take it personally, because if you do, you're going to overreact. If what you do doesn't work, don't take it personally. You may end up overreacting. And if you go down that pathway, it's generally a rabbit hole, a cycle. So try not to take it personally. That's another way of saying don't overreact. It's more like saying what causes you to overreact. You take it personally. Don't take it personally. Feelings. Willie, I think it was you that said, no, it was Chris. Chris said, all I did was I wanted to hear how they were feeling. That's a really good strategy. That's kind of my approach. If something's happening and I rush in, I will want to find out what they're feeling right now. And they're going to want to tell me too. I'm mad because he is having an affair with my girlfriend. Am I supposed to say, no, he's not? No. I'm supposed to say, wow, that sounds like a lot going on, buddy. How you feeling? Well, I told you how I'm feeling. I'm angry. And I'm going to do something about it. We're going to work this scenario, by the way. This is one of them we do today. And it's hard to make progress and direct this interaction down the right pathway of calmness, but it can be done. Yes?
Sorry, keep interrupting.
You're not interrupting.
So all of this stuff, we're here, we're receiving from you.
Yeah.
We're not pushing back against anything that you're saying, but it's interesting that every one of these things, if we were to approach this to try to calm somebody else down who's agitated, none of this would work if we were putting this on them. I mean, if we were saying, my job as a teacher to teach you to be empathetic and non-judgmental when they're angry at somebody else and they're agitated. If we were to say, you know, you need to respect their personal space, they're not going to receive that when you say, so none of this would work to put on other people. But it's interesting that in this environment you can share all this with us and none of us are getting angry at you.
Right. It is kind of weird in that sense. I fully agree with what you're saying. Somebody asked me to give them a definitive answer on what should I have done in this situation. And I don't give advice like that because it's too dynamic and it has to do with who you are, who God created you to be, and what's happening now here. There is no universal approach to this, but I'm going to paint this entire approach to two things, respect and love. And if you're respecting somebody, you're valuing them. And if you're loving them, your heart's in the right place. Okay? We take the exact same scenario. Jeff, your approach might be one thing and it works. Somebody else may do it completely differently and it works. So right there it proves that there isn't a one-way approach to this. You're going to see parameters. I don't know how that translates with you. How do you show respect? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. You can't ask somebody to be different than who they are. They're going to do it their way. Yeah, Joseph.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify what Jeff was saying. Are you saying that that what he's teaching will not work?
Oh, no.
No.
I'm saying it works perfectly as he's teaching us, but if we put ourselves in a role of a teacher when somebody is acting out. Say in nomadic shelter, you see an altercation not too long ago, you've seen some people acting out. If you were to go to them at that moment and say, let me tell you that you need to show respect for one another. Let me tell you that you need to be empathetic toward one another. They're not necessarily going to receive that, but it's interesting in this environment because he's not approaching people who are angry and upset and that he can teach us, and we receive all of this. It's just very interesting that we then can't turn this and place it on somebody else in a crisis situation and expect them to respond up in the same way that we're responding now. Does that make sense? This is for us. This is what we are to receive for us, how we're supposed to act toward others, not necessarily what we're supposed to take and put on others and say, this is how you want to act.
This is not what we're expecting from them to treat us.
Yeah,
Right.
This is,
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah. This is
Correct.
This is we are just how we can be diffusing a situation.
Right. So you're not training the person who's on the edge. You're not training them at all. In fact, you're doing the opposite. You're there for them.
You're not telling them to focus on your feelings.
No, exactly. No.
Avoid overreacting right now.
I don't know where at.
No, you're not. No. In fact,
You say that, then you die.
right. No, that's not what you're doing. These are hopefully strategies that you can put in your tool chest and use appropriately as we go out there and have these things happen, fully realizing that in the moment you may have enough adrenaline going that your judgment's a little bit off. And we'll talk about how that works physiologically here in a minute. But it's also sort of letting you know that I don't know how to phrase this so that it'll make the most sense. It's actually training you to not expect that you're going to go in and use the exact right strategy at the exact right time and that it's going to end up perfect in the end. It's too dynamic for that. It doesn't work that way. Humans are really complicated, and as I've said now 10 times, you may do all the right things. You may not have the outcome that you want, all right? But at least you're going to have the knowledge to, oh, that didn't work. You know what? I think I know what I'm doing wrong. I think I didn't listen to them. I think I was giving them advice. I'm giving somebody advice who's raging. How's that going to work? But it's our natural tendency, especially if anybody that's had kids, right? Okay, I'm going to kind of go past that to get into the challenging question thing. Have you ever had that happen where you're talking to somebody and they're coming up with this stuff and you're like, I don't have the answer to that. And that's how you got to do it. You got to say, look, I know you that's a great question. I don't know. I wish I could help you with that because it seems really important to you, but I just don't know. I don't know the answer to that. All right? Setting limits. So what that means in this context is you can't promise them the moon and not deliver. So you can't promise them that you're going to take care of their issue and you're going to be fine going forward. You might be saying more like, this is going to be a lengthy process, but I'm here for you. It's a very different thing than to assume that you have no limits. There are certain limits the mission has, what they can and cannot do. And you as part of that ministry. Yes, Wayne.
I learned this in restaurant management. Is don't overpromise and underdeliver.
Absolutely.
What was that?
Don't overpromise and underdeliver.
Okay.
You're better off doing the opposite. But I think what's critical is that you don't exaggerate what resources you can use to help them. And you don't promise outcomes, but you assure them, and this is what they really want to hear in the moment, that you're there for them. Are you really there for them? Because if you say that and you're not, and you're just trying to get them out the door so you can resume the normal routine, they're going to pick up on that. And that problem's going to keep revisiting and revisiting and revisiting. So it's a sincerity that you are there for them. I have heard stories from you guys. I love these stories, the follow-up that you guys provide for individuals. We had somebody in class yesterday that said, if the mission had given up on me, I'd be dead. Think about that for a minute. And I believe this individual fully meant that, and I believe that it's true. You guys, like I said, you are first responders. That is a huge story. That's a huge story, man. I love it. This one is kind of the ultimatum issue that comes up from time to time, where the ultimatum generally, when I was a kid and I was given an ultimatum, I violated that ultimatum. And I'll take that one to the bitter end, and I'm the one that suffers, but I didn't care because you're not the boss of me. Kind of mentality. That's what I had as a kid. You may have to do this. You may have to say, like I've said many times, look, if this continues, I don't have any other choice but to call 911. I don't want to call 911. I really don't. I think there's a better outcome here than me calling 911. But all the people are coming out of their businesses, and we will talk about when we do the simulations. If you don't want to be on camera, just let us know, okay? I just want to plant that seed. Some people are very private about that, and we don't want to violate that, okay? So watch out what you insist on, because you don't play that card early. You try to handle it at what we used to call in the fire service at the lowest level. You don't want a problem to resonate all the way up to the fire chief. So you try to handle it low with, but when you run out of cards, anybody here ever had to call 911 on an incident that was occurring? Yeah, I mean, it happens. Don't go to it too early, but understand you have that. And in some cases, there's just simply nothing else you can do. There simply isn't anything else you can do. This one here is a strategy that I would advise we all adopt into our tool chest. of interactions with people in general, but especially somebody that's edgy. Sometimes that's the best de-escalation technique you can do, is just let them reflect. Okay, we're here, there's people coming out complaining about the loudness and the language and the intensity, and we are affecting their daily routine because, and you notice how I'm using the we pronoun here. I'm not saying your behavior is out of control. You can see around, you see how I'm doing it now? You can look at my body language. You can see everybody's coming out of their offices complaining. I'm in charge, and it's because of you. You're going to get me in trouble. No, it's like, look, you're very loud. Your language is offending people. Can you see what's going on? Do you see what's going on? They'll say, no, I'm mad and it's your fault. I get it. You can blame me. That's cool. Let's sit down. Let's talk about that. Give this time. Give this process time for them to sort of reflect on what their behavior is doing. Will it change? Sometimes. This has been a pretty effective technique for me. Is I'm not going to insulate them from what their behavior is causing, especially if it's not getting better and I'm about to call 911 or ask some of the other people on the ministry team to become part of this thing, because it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the next thing you know. So I was involved, and this is going to be really quick, I was involved in an actual riot. Okay, I was on duty, we were doing our job, people didn't like what we were doing, and they started coming out of their houses and beating on us. True story. But the way that it happened was these little bitty things. The noise got people's attention. People came out of the house. They saw something. They didn't understand what's going on. Now another house comes out, and now another car comes up. Phone call, cell phones are out. Videos are being taken. Next thing you know, people are bleeding and hurt. And the cops weren't there. I learned from that because of how it ratcheted up ever so slowly and became a full-scale, out-of-control situation. So try to introduce your concerns to somebody who's acting out and what the consequences might be, and do it in a calm manner, and hopefully they'll check their behavior. Doesn't always work. So here's a couple people having a nice friendly conversation. The normal way of communicating does not involve that. I don't know. Some people are animated more than others. I get that. But generally speaking, you're not going to see this kind of thing going on. So this is a warning sign. Our entire strategy should involve early intervention. Because if you can intervene early enough, you actually have a very good possibility of it not getting out of control. What starts as a minor skirmish can end up as a major riot. Riot's a very aggressive word, but that's what I was involved in. If you can see early signs of conflict, that is time to act. What that action is right now, I'm not going to, who knows, it depends on the nature of the conflict. But you can tell, right? You saw the cartoon image earlier. Those two were not having a friendly communication. Posture, body language, the personal space. We've talked about all that stuff. It's not hard for us to detect that something has started. It's part of our human nature. We've all been involved in arguments, right, with other people. Sometimes arguments that are a little more emotional than others. Voices get raised, body language changes. It's not hard for you to detect this. I know you will detect early signs of conflict. It's always nice when we have guests that we have a relationship with. I always feel more comfortable in that environment, that I'm going to be more effective. I usually am, because I had a guest when I was doing the shower ministry, and he and I hit it off because he was a mechanic and I was a mechanic. And one of the things I used to do when he'd get edgy is I'd go, "Hey dude, have you ever worked on a 283 Chevy?" Yeah, I had a 56 Bel Air that had a 283 in it. What did I do right there? He's on the edge. What did I do? I distracted him. I put him into a world that he's proud of, that he's part of. It worked with him. It won't always work. Again, none of these things are universal, but that was my way with him to get in, distracted from the fact that he's really mad at this dude over here because he's absolutely convinced that he stole something of his. Talk about something that seems so inconsequential like that, but I knew he had that in common. How did I know that we had that in common? How would I know that? Yeah. So I didn't just give him a towel and say, "It's your turn to jump in the shower," right? I'm like, "Dude, what do you do? What's your thing? What do you like doing?" "Well, I was a mechanic and I love old cars." I'm like, "Whoa, me too." And that's not a manipulation. This is like, I am blown away. This guy has the same interest as me. This is fun. Let's talk about it. Just like you would with hunting or fishing, or if that's your thing, or walking, hiking, beaches. It's a natural thing. Take advantage of that. So I'm encouraging you to make a connection with the guests. Make a connection with your coworkers. Because if you have that connection, you're going to have a pathway into their emotions. And it's a good thing. It's a helpful thing. If you see this going on, again, this is so human nature. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time on this because you see it. You know aggressive posture when you see it. You know aggressive facial expressions. You know that. You've either done it or you've been part of a situation where it's happened, or you see it every day on television. Getting loud is sometimes the first. So I have friends that are really political animals. They're just political animals. And all they want to talk about is politics. And I refrain from that. And if I don't engage with them, I notice they're getting louder and they're getting closer to me. I know they're starting to get really mad at me because I'm not playing this game. And I'll use de-escalation techniques right there. Because I know where this is probably headed. I literally have family members that wanted to punch me. And I'm like, I'm not going there. I'm not going to go there. Let's talk about something else. Are you cool with that? The volume is a really early sign that somebody is really starting to get mad and irritated. Verbal threats are verbal threats are serious. They really are. Has anybody here been threatened verbally? Yeah, I know. I say that, and I know that every arm here is going to go up, but I wouldn't mind hearing from somebody on how that felt. Yeah, Joseph.
It was kind of, it was unexpected and startling, and so it was I didn't know how to react, but like besides staying silent, and I was like, didn't know what to do. And I think the Lord caught on. So there was a guy from the mission that was like, "Hey, man, come here. You can't do that. You can't just threaten people and their family, you know." So it was interesting. All I did was just kind of like I was more confused.
Yeah.
As to why it happened, and I kind of wanted to keep it. I was like, I kind of stayed silent. I really didn't know how to react at that moment, so I just kind of let someone else like intervene. So
I know. It's I think that's part of it. It's startling.
yeah.
I mean, you're not used to that. I mean, as I said, I use the word serious. They're serious and intense, and maybe they have no intention of actually following up. I don't care. That's an assault. It really is. It happens in this line of work. Of course it does. I hope it doesn't happen to you, but it is a sign of escalating behavior. Awesome. Okay. Weapons are not as obvious as you think. You see that and you go, yeah, that's a weapon. Yeah, it is. It's a knife. But anything in here, as you look around, a lot of things, I should say, not anything. A lot of things could be used as a weapon. Wielded in an aggressive way. That fire extinguisher could be a weapon in many different ways. The hot coffee could be a weapon. The pitcher of half and half, the garbage can, the chairs, the cords. I know, it's weird. It sounds like I'm teaching you to be paranoid. And it's a weird feeling for me, but what I'm trying to do is create a level of situational awareness.
People don't know that Carol's fists are registered weapons. Few people know that.
Oh, I could tell. Yeah, so just be aware of that, especially if you got somebody on the edge. And you might want to go to a different area where they don't have that available to them. Moving, what you're going to find in the simulation is moving from where the incident is taking place. If you can manage that, is a really helpful strategy. You're getting away from the person they're mad at, moving into a more private, calmer area. Certain things are natural agitators, light, noise, people. Is that crazy? Just being a people is an agitator in itself. The energy level that gets exuded around 10 people compared to 2 people is fascinating to study. It's there. And people play off each other. It's not always a healthy thing. So just think about removing people into a different area where weapons aren't available to them. Again, we kind of covered all that. And move some of these objects out of play as well. Okay. Team approach. One of the things that whenever I went into a building that was on fire, I wasn't allowed to go in by myself. Well, duh. Right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. And if I didn't have somebody to go in with me, I couldn't go in. That's a law. It's an OSHA regulation. For good reason. For the same reason that I needed the protection of another set of eyes and another person with me, it's really helpful that if you're in a volatile situation that you have at least another person, if not a whole team of people that can help. All right? And we'll talk about the value that the team approach has. Primarily, as you can see, based on my example, is by the way, the only time I almost died in a fire was because the guy I went in with ran out of air and left. Now, I'm supposed to go with him. But remember that guy I described to you who I was back in the 70s and the 80s? No, I'm not leaving. So I'm in there by myself, and God saved me. There's no other explanation because I should have fallen in to the basement. That was where the fire was. I should have fallen in. There was a massive hole I didn't see, and I almost went into it, and there would have been nothing I could have done at that point. God said, I got plans for you. You can't die today. And I did not die that day. I'm still alive as far as I know. Well, sometimes I don't feel. Anyway, so if you have somebody else with you, they're going to help you. And it obviously has to do with injury. We don't want anybody hurt. That's our goal. We don't want anybody hurt. Anybody. And if you have a team around you that has a different view, perhaps, has a different take, has a relationship with this person, you're less likely to get injured. This one, yes.
Question. In terms of team support,
Yes.
do you find in your experience that, or how do you manage a situation where somebody's agitated in a team setting? Because in my mind, I think if there's more people, that could raise the level. Or,
It does,
Yeah.
potentially. The general rule is that if Malika is acting out and I keep adding people into her area, she's going to become intimidated, and that is a pathway to violence. Yes.
One of the things that I notice when we're approaching something like that as a team, and I try to train everybody to not everyone talk. If one person should be communicating with the individual, and if there's somebody else's support, they're standing back as support, but they're not also talking to the individual, because that creates more tension and defensiveness.
It does. It absolutely does. But you mentioned how would I approach that, Paul? And what I did yesterday in one of the scenarios is somebody was sitting on the bench with somebody trying to de-escalate. And we really felt that there was going to be punches thrown. So what I ended up doing, I'm communicating. I'm here. Kind of closer, but not in their view. Listening attentively, what's going on over there. It may get to the point where they're wrestling or punching. Great point. You're ganging up on them if you put 4 or 5 people around them. You may think that's a show of force and they won't act out, but it actually does just the opposite. If somebody's in a rage, we used to, when PCP was a big deal, we used to go to calls where their rage was so severe that it took like 4 or 5 people to restrain them. It was crazy, the strength that they were generating. It was physiologically weird to me, but they were able to do that, but they did. And we're seeing a little bit with methamphetamine use as well. There are times when you have no choice but to use a whole bunch of people if you have to get into a restraining situation. But you're out now, you're kind of out of the de-escalation mode now. This topic came up yesterday, and I intentionally didn't give advice on it because it's not my place to give advice. But I'll pose the question for discussion. Can you ever see yourself in a position of having to restrain somebody? Who wants to talk about that? Nobody. Yes.
I definitely see the need to be prepared for that.
Okay.
In the last couple of years, we've seen more than just an uptick in the aggressive nature of these conflicts, and it seems important that we should have an understanding so we're not completely taken aback if we have to restrain somebody.
I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Something that we learned in law enforcement chaplaincy is that if we're with an officer and he's in a kind of a confrontative, it's called triangulation, where you come alongside the officer
Yeah.
so that he knows there's, it makes it difficult, in other words,
Yeah.
for him to, for the other person to think of continuing to
Okay.
escalate
Okay, that makes
now
sense.
you have to literally turn your head. The person has to turn his head to see these two people standing there,
Hmm.
and it tends to, it's a way of kind of de-escalating.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's a show of force, but they're not threatening.
Right.
That makes sense. But yet they're ready to do whatever it is that they have to do. Okay. Anybody else? I like that. So the question I posed was very specific. Do you think there's the chance that you may have to restrain somebody in your ministry? And I'm hearing yes, and I'm hearing a way of doing it. What do you think? Yes.
Well, in my past experience, when I did security, there is, that citizen's arrest that you can do because you have the guard card to be able to do it and the training to do it. But as a citizen or someone who's just working in the store, you're hoping that you're never going to have to do that. You could just take the proper procedures or call the police to handle that person. Because putting hands on somebody, let's just say if you're doing loss prevention and you see somebody physically sticking something in their bag and then you tell your partner, hey, this person's at this location, I saw them, so now we can take them in the back and then call the police. There's always that whole, try to refrain from putting hands on somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's-
Yes. Well, you're in an interesting position with loss prevention. Yes.
So, the mission, we've been in situations where there is real violence taking place
Yeah.
between people,
Mhm.
and we've had to, restrain people from behind, just let's pull back.
Yeah.
And stop the violence from happening right then.
Yes.
That because the conflict is between two people,
Yeah.
there tends not that there doesn't tend to be that turning of now violence against everybody else.
Correct.
But we've had to be in a situation where we've restrained people from fighting each other.
Yes. Yes. I think that's reality, and that's the reason we're even talking about it. Is it could come up that that's your only option. It really can't. And I would like to be able to tell you that in no circumstance should you ever touch somebody in any way at all. I'd love to be able to tell you that because that seemingly tells you you're always going to be safe. But that's not reality, unfortunately. So I just wanted to hear that from Jeff, and I wanted to hear you guys' take on it, and some of you have been involved in that. Loss prevention is a really interesting, we're going to talk about that in the scenario. One of the scenarios we're going to do has to do with stealing from the thrift store. And then we'll talk about protocols the mission expects from you in that case, which is going to be fun to do, in my opinion. Suggestions? How's this going? Questions? I'm open. It's your class, not mine. Yes.
I think it's going well. I'm super appreciative of the fact that you're bringing your faith into it because that's something that we have to do. So if somebody else was giving us the training, I know we would miss out on that aspect.
Yep.
So I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. I really do. I really do. I know you guys are paying me a whole lot of money, but it's nice to hear that Oh, wait a second. No.
Is it mission money they're paying you?
Yeah. I tried to spend it the other day, and it was like,
Yeah, it's the mission funding money, you have to spend it here.
oh, is that what it is? No wonder. Well, there's a lot of stuff in the thrift store I'd like to take home, so I might have to visit that. All right, guys. Yeah, the idea here, and I haven't dropped this sort of bomb yet, is I would love to have somebody want to be me and teach this in the future. So kind of think about it as it's going along. Do you ever see yourself doing that? And remember, you don't have to be equipped to do it, because who's going to equip you?
The Lord.
The Lord is going to equip you. So don't feel like you have to be some like credentialed professor, because it doesn't work that way. All right? So if you have the true heart desire to be part of this training process, then we can work together and get you up to speed on that. And I'd love to be part of that process for you. I would. I'd love to pass it on. I mean that. Yes, Joseph.
Do you use, you probably already have it in the presentation, but there's a proverb that says a gentle word turns away wrath.
A gentle word does what?
Turns away wrath.
Ah.
And so I don't know if you already have it in the presentation, but that's like one of the greatest ways
Yes.
to actually deter someone being wrathful or angry against you or someone else, is if you respond in a really gentle manner, and if you even apologize without, you may not even need to apologize. There may not be anything for you to even apologize for, but sometimes that's a part of that gentle response, being like, hey, I'm so sorry that this is happening to you.
100%.
And it's like, it's amazing, because like when you actually put it into practice, it happens, because God says it's going to happen. So then it happens. It's cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks for that comment. I'm going to look up that verse and put it in, because I actually think that's critical, because we're kind of trying to come up with approaches, or what we might call strategies, to these situations that are dynamic and challenging. Proverbs 15. Not a surprise that Proverbs provides us guidance in this area, is it? And Willie's reference to James. When I start getting too proud of myself, I read James. And that takes me out at the knees and humbles me. So thank you. Thank you for that. That's going to end up in this slideshow.
Proverbs 15:1, verse 1.
Okay. Awesome. So it'd be really great if somebody felt compelled that God's nudging you right now to teach this. It's not really teaching, is it? I'm facilitating a discussion, guiding the discussion. God will equip you if your heart's there. It's really a good plan, because you have a team with you to communicate what you see, because I was really active with the shower ministry, and there was a picnic table over here where people are eating. There was a patio over here with some chairs that people were talking, and behind the trailer were people I didn't even know were there. And if I start picking up on the signs of early conflict with loud voices, yelling, maybe even some aggressive body language, if I see that, I don't want to keep that to myself. I want to communicate that with who I'm working with, because we all need to be aware of it. Joseph talked about receiving a verbal threat. He was unaccustomed to receiving a verbal threat, as we all are. But the simple knowledge that it might happen equips you better for that situation when it happens. That's what this is all about. There's some training that Dan was showing me this morning, which is awesome. And it had to do with ways of communicating that something is happening in our vicinity. And there were code words that were used. And what's cool about a code word is I could communicate something that is only known between the team, and is therefore probably not going to agitate or further agitate somebody else. And I'm not here to help you implement that code word system. That's not my role per se. But I think there's merit in looking at that and seeing where you want to go with that. You know, code brown, code red, code blue, whatever it is that you guys used as a code word. I would encourage you to do that, because if you did something like, oh, Joe's really misbehaving, man, you better come over here. Joe hears it, everybody hears it. Now everybody's agitated, wondering what's going to happen next. Things just got significantly worse. But if it's gentle, hey, code brown. I don't want to tell you what code brown meant in the fire department. Okay. Yes.
Okay, what about numbers? Because years ago, I used to do security.
Uh-huh.
And I used to work in this mall, and what we used to do is use certain numbers.
Sure.
So like if there's a fight or something, but everybody was, that's on that team would know it. Like say for instance, say
Yeah.
code 33. So you know what that means.
I love it.
Go to that location.
I love it. That whatever system works for you guys is all that matters. That language, if it's understood, is going to be effective. So, yeah, whatever works, Thomas. Great suggestion. If it's something that's already known, sure, try to implement something that you have some association with already. And I don't know what you guys do, so.
I feel like if somebody yelled out code 33 and I'm in a situation, I would feel like something's about to go down.
Yeah.
Like it would put me on a more heightened.
It could.
Oh.
It could.
We've got it. Genesis means things are starting. Exodus means let's get out of here.
I love it.
Numbers, there's a riot. There are many of them.
Just don't quote Leviticus, please.
Revelation, get the heck out of here.
Well, the system just got implemented. I love it. That makes sense to me. I like that. Okay, so we've done this. Okay, law enforcement activation. That's a discretionary thing. There's no formula that tells you when to do it. But you already showed me that you've done this before, and I've actually done it at the shower ministry 3 or 4 times. It's not something that you should be reluctant to do. And what I mean by that is that say something's brewing and you think it's inevitable, your gut feeling tells you it's inevitable, you activate 911 and suddenly it dissipates and everything's fine. You can call back and tell them, we don't need you. So there's a reluctance by general citizens, maybe not by you, that when they call them, they can't stop what they just started, and that's not true. If you don't need them anymore, call 911 back, tell them everything's cool, we don't need you. There's another thing you can do, and they may not do this, but you can request what we call silent approach, because sometimes sirens can be the last thing that you want to hear. So there's that. They may still come in with sirens. It's their discretion. Okay, and the other one is you don't necessarily have to call 911. You probably, I think you guys have the number to what we used to call the business line. And you can call that line if it's not a super emergency.
We have a resource now that we've never had previously. It applies to everyone except for the Rose.
Okay.
Because they're in a foreign country. But we have a helpline now for in response, and
Okay.
as long as people are having a mental health crisis during business hours.
Okay.
If they have a mental health crisis after hours, we're 911.
True.
But for people who are acting out in their mental illness, which is a significant part
Yeah.
of the behavioral issues that we deal with.
Right.
We have a great resource now in our in-response team.
I love that. That is great. Because isn't that really what you want? You want to put them in touch with the proper resource. And yesterday we talked about this, already today a little bit, the emergency room ends up being the default depository of patients. And it's funny how often they don't need the resources in the emergency room, but the police, the firefighters, the paramedics, they can't figure out the Uber driver, they can't figure out any other place, so they end up in the emergency room. And, you know, at best, it's a delay. At worst, they don't get the treatment that they need. So, again, there's lots of different ways to activate law enforcement or other resources that you need, and it's something to think about based on the situation. This is just kind of a funny cartoon that shows things that are obviously dangerous and hazardous. The idea here, the next few slides, is to let you know that there are some things you can do to mitigate hazard before it becomes a hazard. And of course, there's a lot of things here you want to change.
How did you get a picture of the mission kit?
It kind of did look that way in the old days. So those of you who are doing mobile ministries, as you're out in the field, there's a certain amount of this that you can do ahead of time before it becomes an issue. And I know I'm mostly talking about like a physical injury that would happen because somebody tripped or something fell on them and so forth. But that's also important. So not necessarily de-escalation per se, but if they are foreseeable, then you actually are obligated to mitigate it. And that's a OSHA word, foreseeability. If a reasonable person could have seen that this posed a hazard and you did nothing about it beforehand, and I don't like to talk about liability and stuff because I think we have a higher calling than that. But you also can do things to make your environment safer for all of us. Lighting, egress. Egress is just the exit. So as you look around this room, there's a couple ways in and out. And that's important because if something happened and we had to evacuate, how are we getting out of this building? If you didn't know better, you might run into some rooms that have no egress at all. So just think about those kind of things as you set up for events, as you go out into the field, as you do your ministry. Think about it forwardly. Think about what is it I can do to make this safer. And another reason for doing that is we had a nomadic shelter at our church. We do it twice a month. And we would allow people to go out into the outdoors. And it's an interesting dynamic. We had literally no control over what happened when they went out into the parking lot, and it's a remote area at night. And we needed to know when people were outside. That's probably the best thing that I could tell you. We just needed to know where they were. And that was hard to do, so think about that. All right. Can you imagine if you're part of a ministry and you were attending somebody and something happened and you didn't even know about it? See, that's not right. First aid, this is not a first aid class, but I know that I handed out a whole lot of ice packs and gauze rolls and Band-Aids during the shower stuff, and I reckon you guys have as well. Another thing that's coming up, and it's not part of this training, is Narcan or Noxolone administration, and even AEDs, automatic electronic defibrillators. These are all things that at the very least you need to know where they are, and at best you need to know how to use them. Okay? But that's not for this class. Just something to put on your radar. Cell phone service in mobile ministries is a bigger issue than you may be considering it right now. You go out West County, you're not going to have any cell phone service. So I'm going to ask you a really interesting scenario. You are out in West County with the shower trailer, and two guests are fighting. Okay, and now somebody's injured. The fight stopped, somebody's injured. You have no cell phone service. What's your next step? What do you do? Wayne.
Residential house.
Absolutely. So a lot of these people, because they don't have cell phones, they're not like other people. They have landlines. That's their only way of communicating with the outside world because their cell phones will never work out there. So that would be a helpless feeling if you're in the shower, somebody's got a broken arm, somebody ran from the scene, you're now responsible. What's another thing you could do? Yes?
Flag down a driver.
Hey, awesome. Sure. Another action you might take. I'm trying to make this as real life as possible for you guys. Yeah.
When going out to Boonville, when we do runs out there, I'm always looking where the call boxes are.
There you go.
Because I don't go out by myself, because if I break down, I'm stuck.
Yep.
So I'm looking where the call boxes are.
Perfect.
Even though they're like 5 miles apart.
Yeah, I know.
Nonetheless, you keep an eye out for that. So if something does break down, then he can stop and go to that call box and call help. So.
I love it. What about another action you might take? This one's, go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say you could ask someone to do those things so that you can attend to.
Love it. Stay with your person who's injured. Be with them. Somebody else goes and does one of those things you guys are talking about. One last thing you haven't mentioned, which is interesting. Yes?
First aid.
First aid. Provide first aid, 100%. What about putting them in the van? The trailer's disconnected. Put them in the van, taking them to the hospital.
That would be too easy.
The fire department is famous for breaking down doors that were never locked.
Yes, thank you. I put them up.
I love it. Thanks for brainstorming with me on that one. I love it. I do. Trust your instincts. There's a physiological change that happens when you get stressed. Yeah, what I'm telling you is two people are fighting. You will be stressed, okay? I don't know who I don't even know where I got this, but it looks like somebody that needs to take some kind of antacid or Pepto-Bismol or something. I think that's a stomach with an esophagus. I don't know where I got that one. But I think what is portraying makes a lot of sense is that if you're stressed out, you're experiencing physiological changes. And we'll talk about what that's like. Trust your instincts. I'm trying to tell you to trust your instincts because God has wired us that way uniquely. And those are warning signs that that are so strong that your body changes. So trust that. If you don't know if it's true that what you're sensing could be a problem, talk to somebody else. What do you think? Do you think this is something that could escalate? Do you think this could? No, I know this guy. It's just his personality. He's just really loud. Oh, all right. It feels a little better, but I'm still going to keep an eye on the situation. If you see somebody that's suddenly gotten loud, why not just come up and talk to them? Start that conversation. You know, this concept of ministry isn't I'm doing my thing and these people are doing their thing. This is like we're doing this thing together, right? So don't be reluctant to respond. Just have a conversation. It starts with a conversation, a non-threatening, calm, low volume conversation from a distance if need be. That is sometimes the best de-escalation technique there is, right there, because it hasn't ramped out of control yet. Okay, if you look at this, these are the adrenal response. What happens, your autonomic nervous system takes over and starts secreting adrenaline and other hormones when you have a stress reaction. And that means that if you are hooked up to diagnostic equipment, you'd notice an increase in pulse. You'd notice your heart's, this second one's referencing your heart beating faster because you're in now a fight, flight, or freeze. You guys know what I mean when I say fight, flight, or freeze? So you're in this danger situation. You have physiological changes in your body. So pay attention to that. You might start sweating, your heart's beating harder, you're breathing faster. All these are normal responses. But it also makes it kind of hard to respond in a calm way. But if you know that's going to happen, you're not going to be freaked out by it as much. So that's why we're talking about it. I don't know the physiology of this. I meant to look that up. But you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to turn this into a medical lecture. You know that feeling in the pit of your stomach. Sometimes it's described that way. Something's going down. This isn't good. Respect that. Respect that. Hyper-awareness, sometimes described as hypervigilance. Again, the adrenal response. Your brain is trying to sense and react to the stimulus that it's perceiving. And that's increased blood flow to the brain, certain areas of the brain. It makes you super aware. These are all stress reactions. Safety first. You've heard the expression, put the oxygen mask on first. There's good reason for that. No, that is not selfish. That is, how can you be helpful to somebody if you're not safe? Right? You can't be. It's not selfish. It's not selfish if you take care of yourself first. We had to make the unpleasant decision on fires where somebody was inside, where the house was fully involved in fire. We had to make the hardest decision a firefighter has ever made in their life to not go in. I can't tell you how much reluctance is involved in that decision making. But if I went into that building that's fully involved, I'm now going to be the third, fourth, or fifth victim of this fire. So what I can better do is sound crazy. What I can better do is keep that building from communicating to the next building. And that's the best that I can do, because unfortunately these people have perished already, and it makes no sense for me to go in. I can't tell you. They've been part of only a couple fires where that's happened. It is the worst feeling you can have. But I need to be able to help. And I'm not helping if I go in. Because this is what happens to me if I go in. Okay, we talked about that. I'm kind of wanting to transition into the simulation part of this thing. We talked about that already, the personal space. All right. Whenever I train for, I used to have a private instructor business where I go to cities or corporations and teach in schools. And one of the things that I always communicated was, I'll give you parameters, but your marching orders come from your employer. You need to know that. I hopefully have not said anything that's in conflict with what the mission's expectations and protocols are. I really hope that I haven't. If I have, I stand corrected. But what I'm trying to make sure you fully understand is the mission is who tells you what the policies are and the protocols, or whatever you want to call it. All right? Understand that training is all part of this. You may feel ill-equipped to handle a highly volatile situation, but I guarantee you're better equipped after we do this training than you were before. That's about the only guarantee I'm going to give you, is that there are certain things that we've talked about that you've learned that you've now revisited because you've had that experience. All of those lead to better behavior when these things happen. The converse of that is also true. Throwing you cold into a highly volatile situation with no training is really unsettling. Really unsettling. And if I think that the protocol is to do this and somebody else thinks it's to do that, we're not on the same page. Not being on the same page leads to indecisiveness and basically a poor plan of mitigation. So you need to know, this is putting us on the same page, right? If you disagree with anything, you've had the opportunity to talk about it, and please bring it up. I encourage you to do that. But we're talking about things that work, things that may not work, what the policies are, the mission. All of that puts us on the same page. That's the intent.
On the team members need to be on the same page thing.
Yeah.
Communication is really important. In a crisis situation, Matt Weatherly, I said, Matthew, 911. And he said, why does Jesus eat with sinners and tax collectors? Because that's what Matthew 9:11 says.
Really?
We've got to be on the same page.
I got you. I get it. Yes, Willie.
You have two different areas of help or escape. If you disagree with that one, was it better just to succeed and go with that, so you're both on the same page?
That's a good question.
Just to back off and say, well, I can't do that, and I don't think it's wise for you to do that either.
I don't know if I'm going to answer your question with this, but one of the things that adds to confusion is when two people are attending to one person. Because that's the good parent, bad parent syndrome. It's also confusing to somebody. They don't know who to listen to, who has the best voice for them at the time. So one of the things, I love the team approach and I love the communication, but try to have one person be the negotiator, if you will, until it becomes violent, at which point you may need other folks to help you out. Do you have these answers? This is maybe a kind of homework, maybe in a sense, rather than, yeah, you already have these answers. One of the things I would do with new firefighters is to explain to them this romantic image of what you're about to do in your career, to throw it out the window. It's not romantic, all right? It's dangerous. But we can minimize the risk by training. We can minimize the risk by understanding there is a risk. Like I said, have this conversation with folks. What is it that qualifies to the level of an incident report needing to be filed? What does that look like? These are things to think about. Do you know what the safety guidelines are? Do you know what the protocols are? What is your job? Who is technically in charge? Nothing worse than two people, neither of which feel they're in charge, or even worse, both of them feel like they're in charge. Have an idea what your role is. If you work in shower ministry, are you wiping down the showers? Are you talking with the guests? Are you giving out clothes? Are you passing out food? Are you sharing the gospel with them? Where's this all going to happen? How does this normally go? Have an idea what you're doing. That's part of the communication system. Have an idea who's on the lookout. You know what the potential is here. Please be vigilant about this, be vigilant about that. Let's keep in conversation. What is your duty today? Who was supposed to have made sure the chains went on the trailer where they attached to the van? I one time had a situation where we put the wrong ball on. Okay, I say we, I didn't do it. Somebody put the trailer ball on the van and it was for a smaller trailer. So we'll be 1 7/8. And then you wouldn't know it when you put the shower trailer on it because it went on it. So whose job was it to do that? Whose job is it to make sure that we have first aid supplies? Just something to think about. And then the alert system, which this is kind of work in progress. I don't think there is a PA system here, am I right? No? Huh? Okay. Well, see, you have a challenge. This is a unique challenge here because this is a long, skinny building. So I could be here and be 150 feet away from the thrift store. And to be honest with you, I've been here a lot, but I wouldn't know how to internally get to the thrift store from here. There you go. So I'd be that guy that got lost in the closet that the fire department had to rescue. So literally, I don't know what to say in this area, but some people carry walkie-talkies. Some have a general alarm, like fire pull station that you can do. Some have a paging system where you can call phones all at once, maybe like a Nixle system. You guys know Nixle, right? It may be something, they may have software. I don't know. I don't know systems that well. But I think it's prudent to at least explore some way of doing a general communication that reaches staff in all the various locations of this ministry building, because there's a lot of different locations. And God forbid if it's a shooter, I hate even talking about, I can't believe I have to talk about an active shooter. I can't fathom that our world has gotten to that point. I can't. But somebody may come back disgruntled, think that you disrespected them. Who knows? So what do you do in that case? I don't know.
You know,
Thomas.
just like, say like, for instance, we got a shooter in the building. Like I mentioned earlier before about that number. But if you got like a bullhorn,
Yeah.
right, you would announce 33. So you would know there's a shooter in the house.
Okay.
Or 44.
I love that thinking. I love that thinking. But I'm going to leave you with this one last thought. Is the fire department rarely created anything original. When we got a fireboat, I didn't write up the training for the fireboat. I stole it from the neighboring department that had it already. And I suggest that for all of us here, as we go forward and we're going to put some systems maybe into place, call up another mission and find out what they do.
Because of this new workplace violence prevention training, we were kind of ahead of the curve. But after we had engaged with you, our insurance company, because they're doing this for organizations all over the place, they provided us this elaborate, very extensive manual that includes those kinds of things.
Really?
So they gave us, just here you go. So it's very, very good.
Wow, I love it. Oh, that's really cool. Insurance companies, they're writing the checks when things go badly, believe me. And they're going to stipulate certain things to limit their exposure. And I'm saying this in a cynical way, I don't mean to. Obviously, they don't remain profitable if you are reckless and things happen and they have to write the checks for it. So I've used our insurance company and the fire department as a valuable, positive resource. And I'm going to give them that love on this side too. So I imagine that material is excellent. I really do. All right, guys. That's it for this informational sort of exchange. We're going to get right into the simulations. Okay, and Eric has some maneuvering he needs to do to get just that right shot of the simulation. The way it's going to go is I'm going to be the first one. I'm going to go first. I'm going to call what I'm doing the employee. Others will function as the employee. And then I'm going to have some actors. Okay, Malika?
Do you have hair and makeup or?
You know, they usually put some on my head so it doesn't shine. But, I'm just going to go with it today. This is, normally people kind of get it when I'm asking them to play the role of this or that. But from time to time, some people are using the opportunity to actually audition for that next big blockbuster movie. And if that happens, it's not a big deal. It's okay. I'll just say, maybe tone it down just a little bit, that kind of thing. But I'm going to give some love to Jody yesterday because he got into his role. And it was awesome. It was like, everybody's like, what is he doing? And then they got into what they needed to do, and we all benefited from the fact that he gave it his all, because we know being in that situation is a very dramatic situation for us. And so to the extent we can make it real, that's what I'm encouraging us to do, is to make it as real as possible. All right. Okay, I'm going to describe the scenario, the first one. And the scenario, I think, is it's happened to me, so I just chose to develop this particular scenario. I was at the shower ministry somewhere, and some commotion started happening. And the gist of it was that a male guest was accusing another male guest of having an affair with his girlfriend. No. Yeah. Right. I know it's far-fetched. You've never seen it. Could never happen. But I thought I'd just do it anyway. Yes, I have.
No, you have. Keeping it real. You have.
I'm keeping it real. All right. You know, I think I might use you as an actor.
Let's do it.
Are you cool with that?
Apparently you don't know who I think I am. What's wrong with you?
I know I did. I spent the last 2.5 hours figuring out who I was going to use, so I'm pretty cool with that. All right, so Willie, if you would be the one that is, I mean, you're upset, and I'll tell you how to act that out in a minute, but you're upset, and the notion here is that you feel that Malika is messing around with James.
Malika.
See?
It gets really complicated.
Going down.
It's going down. All right, so here's the deal. I'm going to try to de-escalate a situation, and it's not going to work very well in the beginning, at least. Now you have the liberty to accept what I am doing and calm down. And I would hope you would base that on how I'm doing. Or if you sense that I'm doing a really bad job, you just ratchet it up, okay? And I'm giving you that freedom because I don't want this to be panned out and orchestrated and completely artificial, because nobody learns from that. So I'm going to ask you to get mad, to reject what I'm trying to do. But if I'm approaching you right, start ratcheting down. Start ratcheting down. But if somebody comes into your space while we're having a nice private conversation and gets you ratcheted up again, by all means, ratchet it up. Okay, James, you are getting upset because you didn't do this. Okay, you didn't do this. But Willie thinks you did it. Okay? So you don't know what to do. You're just mad. Okay? Malika is like caught in the middle of this love triangle. All right?
Everybody loves Malika.
But see, Malika she's got the inside scoop on Willie. All right? She knows that Willie does this. He flies off the handle. He does this, he does that, right? From time to time.
Acting like this.
Yeah, you're used to this.
He does know who you are.
Yeah. I'm glad my wife isn't here.
She was here yesterday, huh?
Yes, yes.
How's Quentin Tarantino doing back there?
So that's my motivation. I know what Willie does. He's
You do.
always acting like this.
Yep, and your at least initial response is to help in whatever way that is, okay?
Help who?
Help the situation, because he wants to punch James. And James is getting really close to that. You don't want to mess with me, and he's going to punch Willie. And we don't want any of that to happen, right? Right? Okay. Now, I know in real life there's no way of predicting exactly what would happen. These are the kind of calls that cops hate to go to the most, because what ends up happening is you start citing, you start siding with Willie because you're mad at Willie for accusing you of all that stuff, but he is your significant other. So you start connecting back with Willie, and suddenly I'm the cop and I'm the bad guy. It's the worst. More cops get injured doing this than anything else. But I don't want it to go that way, because I don't think there's a lot of learning that happens if we take it to that point.
He doesn't want to get hurt.
I don't. And I'm afraid of her anyway. I really am. She gave me a warning out in the party, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And James does pull-ups with one arm.
I know. I've seen it. Believe me, I know. Okay, how we doing? Really? Okay. All right, so physically, what I'm going to do, Willie, is I'm going to put you up here. And James, I'm going to put you right here. And Malika, you can stay there for now. Okay. But at some point, I think I'm going to want you to get up and sort of get involved in this thing, which is going to make it so much worse. But that's what I want to happen. Okay, so I'm back here doing my thing. You guys are all on my team. So I may tap into you guys to help me out, okay? Understand that this is not going to be a model of perfection. I am going to make mistakes, all right? And I want you to just observe what it is that I'm doing and think about it if you were in my shoes, all right?
So am I going to talk to you first about what's going on?
You are eventually going to tell me that, because right now you're yelling at James, and James isn't having anything about it, and James is coming towards you. Okay. So start accusing him. Okay, let's start this thing. Accuse him. Tell him.
Homeboy, all that stuff? And you're messing with my woman?
Hey,
What's up with you, dude?
Dude, I didn't.
Man, that's what I heard. I've heard it from 3 different people. I heard it, and I heard it. And all that stuff you said about homeboy and all that stuff, that goes right out the window. Don't step towards me. You're getting violent. Keep your hands at your side.
Okay.
Can you help me?
Talk to me right.
Okay, come on.
You need to back off.
Man, I am pissed. All that stuff, man. All that stuff.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey.
What's going on? I can't help but notice you guys.
Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm pissed because she's unfaithful with him.
I'd love to hear about.
And all this stuff I've told about who I was and how much I was loved, and you're the only one.
Hold on a second. Hey, guys.
What is going on?
Take her somewhere else.
What is going on?
Malika. Hey, Willie, do you think it's okay if we go over and talk? I see you're really, come on.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, let's go back this way.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Hey.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Take a seat.
I appreciate it.
Wow, what's going on? I've never seen you so upset.
I've crossed the line. I know I've done. I've gone way above the line.
You know, nothing's
Some
happened
areas
yet.
that's just unbelievable. You just can't trust anyone what they say. Everything's a lie. Everything's a lie. From my best friend to my girlfriend, it's all a lie.
What's
Don't lie to me.
Okay, I won't. I'm here to listen to you.
Okay.
What's up?
So, okay, he's right. I don't know for sure, but he's been accused of messing with my girlfriend.
Wow.
Okay, and when I heard about it, I've also heard about things about her that I didn't believe. And now that I'm hearing him, it's just blown out.
Wow, I can see.
And
you're
it's
upset.
way past, I can't even control it. I don't want to control it. And I realize that I've passed the point of coming back.
Okay.
And so I don't even know if I want to talk to you right now.
Okay, it's fine.
But I definitely need to talk to somebody.
You want to go for a walk?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, let's go.
I do.
Let's go.
I do.
Let's assume for this scenario there's an exit door back here.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to Willie.
I just got to get my breath, man. My heart's beating.
All right.
I don't like to be in this situation.
Cut. That's it. Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Good job.
Willie. Hey, you guys. Thank you. What were you sensing as that was going on? Thank you for manufacturing that rage. That was awesome. How were you feeling, especially with my interaction with you?
It brought me down, it comforted me when you were there.
Okay.
Because I was talking to someone else, third party, that actually I might be able to trust them in that situation more than these other two.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
So, and the fact that as time goes on, you begin to realize, what if I am wrong?
Right.
Now
Right.
I'm really mad because I'm wrong, then I'm going to be ashamed.
Wow.
Then I'm going to have to go back and apologize. And an offended brother is hard to win, then who knows? And so if James was being accused of what I was accusing him and he was innocent, that makes my rage go even higher.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
anyway.
Love it. Wow, that's a full range of emotions that you generated in this setting. That's impressive. I really felt like I was dealing with somebody that was mad, by the way, in case you were wondering. So that was cool for me. James, what were you? Tell me about your experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like once you guys intervened and separated us, and then especially when you pulled Willie away, then and then Thomas was calming me down because I was obviously getting enraged because he was in my space and
Yeah.
the fight or flight kicked
Yeah,
in.
man.
But anyway, once that was separated, it was diffused. So I
Okay.
started to feel calm and.
I sensed that, although I wasn't in your vicinity except for in the beginning. So thank you for that, for being part of it, for doing it authentically. Malika, how about you? What was your take on this whole thing?
I think it went well.
You didn't have to hurt anybody. Okay, you guys saw this play out. I mean, you must have thought you were watching something pretty dramatic because when she got up, I mean, it was going okay up here. But when she got up and now it's three of them and they're doing this, it's like, oh man, this thing's getting real.
I think Lupita did a good job of taking me out of, because I was about to get involved. It was like,
Yes, you were.
yes.
I
She pulled me aside.
I couldn't tell whether it was Jerry Springer or Maury.
Well, Maury is, you're not the father, so it's Gary. Paternity.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thomas, thank you. How'd you feel?
I'm kind of glad, we kind of calmed James down because I didn't want to knock my man out over there,
He knew he could take James. He was confident he was going to the top of it.
Thomas said, code 33.
Code 33.
Wow, that's awesome. I can't wait for him to say that, but. Oh, man. All right, so lay it on me. I did some things that were good. Yeah, I did some things that were not good. I did some things that were neither good nor bad. I want you to tell me. Yes.
Fantastically, each person, there were enough people to manage each person. Everybody knew what their role was, so they went into that well, and I would say that's the best case scenario.
Yes.
Something to consider is you don't always have the right number of people for however many.
Whew,
So
yeah.
kind of paying attention to who's the right person to isolate, and having that conversation with them, knowing that these people are probably going to calm themselves down. Like James may have been able to calm himself down if I pulled Willie off and started talking to him because he was the most active.
Good point. So what your point is incredibly well taken, and I'm glad you brought it up because I probably would have forgot. If it was just me, and it was James, Willie, and Malika, and it was just me, it would have been a completely different situation. I literally would have had to cut my losses. I would have tried to separate James and Willie as best I can, but it's just me. I'm going to really get away from where the conflict's happening. But now I'm leaving Malika and James together, and I have no control. And that's a helpless feeling. But hey, guess what? Often we have a team with us. And to tap into Thomas, he had no idea I was going to ask him to help out. To tap in here, you didn't even know. I mean, I came up to you and said, can you help with Malika? She's about to get really mad. Thank you for what you did, by the way. What was that like for you?
I'm scary because I'm not here before this problem. I don't know what
Yeah.
This is scary for me.
Yeah, I get it. So did I choose female on purpose?
Yes.
Of course I did. Absolutely I did. I did that because I felt like that pathway would be easier to go down. If a man came up to you and was trying to help you out with this situation, because eventually you would get really mad because you either did or did not cheat, but you're deny. And that's going to ramp up your emotion. And so it had played out in real life. Her job would have become really big.
Plus, Willie would have thought something was going on between me and the men.
That's right. Yeah. Knowing Willie. First Jeff, then Willie. Jeff.
So, not so much a statement about what you did right or wrong, because I thought you did great, overall. What I would say is that in our scenario, sometimes our teams are actually too big. Not because if we think our teams are our staff, they might not be big enough.
Right.
But we have people, for better or worse, that want to be part of the team and get involved and help. There are times when we have guests that do not want the mission to be disrespected or harmed in any way, and they kind of rush in to help in the situation.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
better or worse.
Protective.
And so we just have to sometimes manage the team that wants to help. Sometimes nobody wants to get involved. Sometimes too many people want to get involved.
Oh, that is so true. Yeah. Willie, you were going to say something then, Wayne.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it just reminded me of who we are now compared to what we were. We've been delivered from the power of darkness and translated into the kingdom of His Son.
Yeah.
That emotions, that acting is the world. That's what we used to be. And I haven't acted that out in years, but let me tell you, it was easy to do.
Wow.
It was easy to do because that used to be who I was.
Yeah.
Continually.
Yeah.
Distrusting, always suspicious.
Yeah.
Always broken because I had no relationship with the one who matters.
Where the power comes from.
Yeah, so it was fear, all that stuff. So
Been there, done that.
my heart's still beating.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful testimony, brother. Whew.
I just had an example of teams getting bigger in a situation where I had to exit someone for verbal assault, and someone stepped in, and they were not helping the situation, and creating that presence of now that person was I'm feeling attacked, and
Yes.
it was like I'm gonna pull a knife now.
Yeah.
That's how it got.
So one of the things we're going to act out in the next scenario has to do with somebody being a little overzealous trying to help.
Yeah.
And you're touching on that, and you just touched on it. And it's reality, because this overprotectiveness of the mission is prevalent. I've sensed it myself. And so it's possible that could happen. And so conflict doesn't only occur with the people we're serving. Conflict can occur with our coworkers as well. It's just something to think about. So let's get on that same page and deal with that. More comments on what I did. I was the primary person. Anybody? Paul?
I was just going to say, being back here and not being able to hear everything going on up there, I just noticed the people that intervened were unassuming. There was a steady kind of calm Because I couldn't hear everything you were saying to them, but I could just tell that you were trying to. It was just calming. Is what
Okay.
it was from back here.
Yeah, we didn't add to the commotion. At least I don't think we did. That would be my take on it. Thanks for that comment. Yes.
So I could see, what you guys were talking about here, and Willie was so enraged, he was shaking,
He was.
and it didn't affect your demeanor. So you just didn't take on
No.
what he was projecting. You just stayed calm, and your voice was real steady, and listened more than spoke.
Yeah. That's a great comment. Had this been real, I don't know if I would have been able to be that calm. I'm going to just full disclosure.
'Cause he was scary.
Yeah, he is. I mean, that beard's awesome. I want a beard like that. So, just saying.
I
Yeah.
wanted to add how at first I didn't think James was going to be an issue, and how calm he was, and how that ramped up to at the end. I thought he was going to go through Thomas.
Right. Right. Is that real, do you think? In this love triangle thing that we got going on? Yeah, I think so.
Just saw that you gave him an out. You gave Willie a way to step away, an opportunity to do that, and that seemed to be really good to bring the most. He was the most volatile in the situation to allow him to step away was good.
Yes. I sensed, because I wrote the scenario, so okay. I sensed that he was the one that could go off like a powder keg quicker, because he was the accuser in this case. Yes.
You weren't doing any more than speaking to his emotion. You were not trying to logic him. You were trying to. You weren't trying to reason with him.
No.
You were just trying to minister to him and calm him down.
I'll tell you what, thank you for saying that. Here's what my natural instinct would have been different. Let's say I had knowledge that this is completely fabricated, that James, who I know quite well as Willie and Malika, I know that this isn't true. What if I just sat down here, Willie's here, and I'm trying to convince him that it's not true? What's that going to do with Willie?
Now
It's
you're
gonna-
the bad guy.
Suddenly everything turns on me. Willie becomes more agitated because I'm now part of that same problem that created the problem in the first place. So you don't win arguments. It's not about winning the debate and convincing them otherwise. That's the last strategy that you want to use in a case like this. So I was willing to put in the time to listen, and that you guys have done this. I know you have. A situation like this, I might be taking a walk with Willie for an hour. That might be what it takes. You have to be sincerely willing to go that length in this case. Because what we haven't talked about yet is what happens after the de-escalation. These two live close to each other. They have Malika in common. This thing could end up being extremely bad in the future. I have now a relationship with Willie. You guys have done this too, and I'm not telling you should do this. I've given some guests my cell phone number, and they'll call me. I'm good with that. I'm willing to do that. I'm not saying to do that. I don't know what the
Protocol.
Take a deep breath, brother.
Brian. You can only do your best. Sometimes, hard as you try, God has other plans. God created all of us uniquely with different skill sets. Yes, we can learn. What works for me may or may not work for you. And that's okay. So sometimes when you put your heart into what you're doing, it gets broken. Take it to God in prayer. What you guys are doing is so important. We need you. God needs us out there. But it's not easy, you know? It's not easy. So, I'm sorry. I wasn't allowed to be emotional in my job. I couldn't be. If I got emotional, I sucked at it. It was not good. And I did that for 33 years. And then God spoke to me and said, hey, it's okay. Be who you are. You're seeing it. But He's got a new purpose for me, and it's to be part of this experience. And I'm happy to be part of it, even though it looks like I'm not, because I'm sitting here crying. But you'll meet people that become really important to you. And you put everything into it, and most of the time it's a beautiful thing, but sometimes it just hurts. And there's only one way of dealing with it, and that's taking it to God in prayer. Because He will give you the strength, like He's giving me right now, to work through this. Because He's got plans for me. And I'm not giving up, man. But Brian was a really good friend of mine, and I was helping him. But it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. What do you know? I mean, you don't control the outcomes as much as you want to. And I wish I could tell you if you did A and B, it leads to C, but it doesn't always do that. But you don't know the miracles that you're creating, because you don't always see it. Yesterday, when somebody here said, if it weren't for the mission, I'd be dead. When did that exactly happen? It wasn't delineated, but it didn't matter. It's because you were here. Your mission is pure. And you answered the call, man. That's awesome. You guys are first responders. You are. And I want to applaud you for that. Okay. I promise I won't go into that rabbit hole again, but one of the things with PTSD, if you're wondering if you have it or you know somebody that has it, is that when you think of somebody or a situation, you literally go there, okay? And I'm there, I'm holding somebody's hand, I am talking to them, I am dealing with it right there, even though it actually isn't happening. Your brain does that. You file these experiences away, and they get access, and they happen at the craziest times. And you've got to acknowledge that's just the way life is, and work through it, because we got some work still to do here today. And I don't want to sit up here watching you guys watching me break down. But what can I say? Okay, so we're going to go into the next one. What I would like to do is work the same scenario that we just did, but instead of me, it's going to be somebody else. And feel free to utilize some of the things I did or discard them if you don't think it's right. It doesn't matter to me. We're going to do it. We're going to break into two groups. and we're going to put half, this side of the room can kind of occupy that space over there, and then the left side of the room can occupy the space in the back. And yeah, it's going to get a little bit loud, and that's okay. But we need to get as much application here as we can, and we only have an hour left to do it. So I want you guys to have the experience, and the only way you can do it is 2 groups. So, Dan, are you able to facilitate this group up here? All right, and I'll give you sort of the nuanced changes that I want to implement, because I don't want to run the exact same scenario as we just did, because then it becomes mundane. All right, and then I'll take you guys back here. So if you wouldn't mind sort of designating somebody that played Willie. If you want to do that role again, you can, but if somebody else wants to be Willie, let's get this side organized first, then I'll work on you guys. Does anybody want to play the role of Willie? Free Willie? Anybody? Willie, I don't know, man.
I can play the role of Willie.
Okay, we got a Willie. Yay. Okay, so who wants to play the role of James?
We can flip it.
We'll flip it. Let's do that. You want to do that?
I will.
Okay. All right, so you're not playing the role of Willie. The conflict's happening between 2 ladies this time. Okay? Let's make it as simple as possible. We're not going to involve a 3rd person. It's just 2 ladies fighting. Okay? You cool with that? Yeah. Okay. Just 2 ladies fighting. Yep.
Take my earrings off.
So you guys come up here, and then the object of your affection is Rod.
I'm here for you, darling.
Here. All right. So.
Wandering eye.
So we don't. I think you can take a seat. I don't think
okay.
we're not this scenario. All right. So you 2. All right. And then Rod is that love triangle, the third leg of it. Okay. So we're gonna go back here. If you want to film this one, I would go to the front. All right.
Malika, I saw you sitting by Rod the other day.
No, I was not. I don't know what you're talking
about. I know
about.
what you're trying to do.
Don't nobody want Rod. Don't nobody want Rod. Okay? No.
Yes.
I did not.
Do you want to come over and talk to me and just?
No, she always accusing me of doing something. No. She just making stuff up. Don't nobody want her man.
Every time I'm not paying attention, she's over talking to Rod.
No, I'm tired of this. Don't nobody. And here he goes trying to be in the middle again. We're just friends.
No.
We are just friends. We are just
you
friends.
Were sitting by Malika.
That's it. She's always acting like this. I don't understand.
All the time. All the time.
I do not understand why she's always
every
tripping.
Time I'm not paying attention. You're talking to Malika.
Oh, so here she goes.
All right.
And you just gonna stand there and let her keep accusing me?
I am so mad because Malika's way prettier than me, and she's always sitting by Rod.
I'm tired of it.
Okay,
and Rod loves to talk to her because she smells
so get your woman under control.
But
period.
I mean, he loves you, so let's just.
Oh, see, there she go.
It's okay.
She always accusing me of something.
You know it's not true.
But
she needs to take that up with her man.
Take some deep breaths. Okay. Let's just take some deep breaths. Maybe we'll just keep away from her for a minute, just so you can figure it out.
I don't know.
Rod's a free agent.
I thought you were here for me.
I'm here for you, darling.
She's accusing me of polluting.
And she's off because Malika's way prettier. She smells like honey.
We weren't quite taking it seriously.
It was not enough.
These 2 were.
Yeah, I know.
I have another.
Okay, it's hard in an artificial environment to really replicate what it is that you will encounter in the real world. On the other hand, I think there's some valuable training to excerpt from this. Let's hear from you. How'd you feel?
Well, the coming out and not seeing what was previously happened, like walking into the middle of
You
an
did.
argument, I was just like, okay, so what's going on? It's almost like I felt like I had to quickly assess the situation, if it was going to escalate quickly or what the deal was, because I was watching their body language as they were talking to each other. And
Yes.
they were doing this.
Who had the aggressive body language? Yep. Well, mostly. Yeah. Yeah. And you picked up on that. Give yourself some credit. One of the things you did incredibly well, by the way, is you kept your distance in the beginning. And that's the assessment process. So I love that. Okay. What else? Go on.
As I gravitated to her and asked her what's going on, I realized that she was upset. And I said, I understand that you're upset. And then I let her just unravel her feelings.
Okay. Awesome. What were you
Well, it
sensing?
ended in Jeff being poisoned with antifreeze.
Whoa.
Because
Okay.
D9 is my favorite program, so I had plans for him to rectify the situation.
We have to talk. I watch way too much Dateline. Why am I attracted to that? But I am. All right.
I was going to fight for my man to the end, and if I couldn't have him, nobody could.
I don't think, as I went over there, I certainly created that second level of dynamic.
You did.
And I wasn't helpful to the situation at all. And it was clear that another person was needed to extract me from that situation.
Yes.
But Paul spoke my love language and offered me a cup of coffee.
Nice. Nice. Good job,
I was
Paul.
debating between that or a telescope conversation.
Telescope conversation.
Okay.
Let's go look at the stars.
Were you able to receive the negotiation, so to speak, from Chris?
Yeah, because he listened to me, and I was so upset. I just needed somebody to listen to me.
Mhm.
Not take a side, not get mad, but listen to me so I could get out what she did to me. So.
Do you have any employees that don't get along? Because I really need to tap into that. That's where a little bit of the artificiality takes over. I can tell you guys are good friends. So, what about you, Chris? What was your take on this?
Well, I was just trying to distract her from what was going on and listen to what she was trying to say.
But did you find that challenging?
Yes.
Why?
Because, well, until, as soon as they both started talking about coffee, I thought there was nothing going on.
Yeah. Nice. Jeff, what about you? You being the agitator that kind of came into the middle of it all, making it worse.
Well, yeah, it was clear that's what I was doing. I was making it worse, not better. And it was clear that I, again, needed to be pulled out of that I needed to be extracted from that situation because it doesn't help.
No.
It certainly wasn't helping calm the situation because.
But Paul, what was your approach? How'd that go?
I think just empathy.
Empathy.
Just listening.
Right.
Hearing what the issue is and trying to relate, and then a little bit of distraction / bribery maybe.
Yeah. No, that's good. Absolutely. Love it. All right, you guys, that was awesome. Let's go ahead and we're gonna do another one this time. I'll give you some coaching on it, and it's gonna take place here. You guys, I'm gonna kind of help Dan get you guys ready for your next one. All right. So let me get you guys set up first, since I set them up first last time. This is going to be alleged theft of merchandise from the thrift store. A wee bit different this time is you have one of those overprotective employees. And they want to get involved in it, and they are completely untrained and maybe a little naive, and they do all the wrong things. So I need somebody that wants to play this overzealous employee that really insists on getting that merchandise back because the mission relies on the profits from the thrift store. So who wants to? You're going to be that one up there, okay? For this group back here, who wants to be the well-meaning but overzealous protective employee? Paul, you want to do that? Excellent. I love the volunteering. Thank you. So Paul's going to be that guy, and he's just going to throw gasoline on the fire. Who is going to be the one that is the alleged thief? You guys pay attention because you're all going to have a role like this too. Who wants to be the alleged thief?
It's not a thief, it's a legend.
The alleged thief.
I'll do it.
Okay, Chris is going to be the alleged thief. And who wants to be the employee that's actually responsible in this case? They're the supervisor of the thrift store. They're the one who's going to get involved in this thing. Who wants to be that person? You want to be it? Okay, what's your name? Paul? I love Paul. Paul's a great name. I wish my name was Paul. Okay, so we got a couple Pauls involved in this one. Okay, so what, Paul, you're going to end up doing is you're going to be told by somebody that this dude is stealing merchandise. Okay? That's how this thing's going to go. Remember your role. Your role is to help out Paul, but you're doing it completely wrong. So you're going to end up having to chill this dude out. And also, this guy's starting to get mad because he didn't steal anything. Right? So Thomas says he saw him stealing something. So he's got righteous indignation, wrongfully accused, innocent. But this dude, he's seeing things. Thomas is seeing things, okay? So this whole scenario starts off this way. You go, Chris, if you wouldn't mind going over there and actually put that snake in your pocket or something over there. Yeah, that's that. No, that's too big. That's too big. What can you put? Okay, just put that one in your pocket. That's what you saw. You saw that was in his pocket, and you're like, he stole that. So you tell Paul that, and yeah, you ready? Okay, we can start it. Okay. Remember, just go over there and actually start frisking him, start trying to take things away from him. Yeah, and because Paul is going to have to keep you from making the situation worse.
You guys just kind of like hold it amongst yourselves.
Okay.
So we get. He just saw you. He saw you.
Look for unicorns.
Saw you putting his stuff in the pocket.
I've seen this guy before. I've seen him. He's stolen stuff before. You need to check him. We need to check him out. Turn around. I want to see what you got on you. I want to see. I think it's in his back pocket. I think it's that. Yeah, but somebody donated that. Somebody donated that, and that's for God. That's for God. It's for ministry.
I'm the one responsible. Hey, dude, come on, step over me. Let me do this. I'm the one responsible. Let me handle this. Okay?
I know, but I don't trust this guy. I've seen him take stuff before.
I'm the one in charge of this right now. I need to talk to him. So I think it's okay if you step up a little bit right now, and let me talk to him. Okay? Yeah.
I just seen him.
Yeah.
I saw him.
I don't know what you saw. I don't know what you think you saw.
You gotta check his pockets. I don't trust him.
Okay, we're gonna check your pocket right now.
No.
If I check your pocket and I find something in the pocket, we're gonna call the police.
No.
Come on. Yes. Yeah.
You better call the police.
I want to make sure he doesn't get away. I'm gonna block him over here. Okay. All right. I'm gonna make sure. Okay. I'm gonna make sure he doesn't go anywhere.
We're calling the police.
You call the police. They can check my pocket.
Yeah, dude. Okay. Come on, man. Call the police. All right. Cool. I'm gonna call the police.
I just seen you put.
Yeah, I
don't know what you think you saw.
I'm about to call the police. They'll handle that.
Yeah, call the police.
He's calling the police.
Is that showing?
No, you can't go anywhere. You can't go anywhere.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So 1821 Panel Road. Thank you. All right. Yeah. Police are coming.
Code 33. Code 33.
Code 33.
Code 33.
All right.
Okay.
Ain't nobody coming.
Come on out here, fellas.
I felt cornered.
You felt cornered.
That's a literal cornering. Okay, Paul. How'd that go?
Not good.
Went south fast.
No. Things went well.
What's that?
Certain things went well. Certain things went well.
Yeah, man, I mean, we were able. Thomas, we were able to. Before Thomas saw him, Thomas saw him was able to, ask him, see if he did get stuff or not, and until Paul came in, and then Paul wanted to take over the situation when I was supposed to be the one, handling it.
So you had to deal with a lot of people
Right,
at
so
this.
with Chris and Paul.
Yeah.
They were not listening,
Yeah, and this guy.
Yeah, Thomas, he saw him, but he didn't really.
He just kept screaming, code 33.
He just exactly.
Right. So did you feel a bit overwhelmed based on the nature of this situation?
I did feel overwhelmed.
Right. What, looking back at it now, what might you have done differently?
If differently, I think just getting maybe call the police before Paul came in there, or having maybe ask Thomas face how the whole thing, like what he saw it, how did he see him, before I can actually go to Chris and go forward.
Okay. So you were acting on his information. Okay. Does what he have to say change what you do? In other words, is your goal to retrieve the merchandise, or is your goal to keep the conflict to a minimum? What is your goal?
Initially, my goal was to make mine, so I'm gonna get back my stuff.
Okay.
But,
Right.
But yes, but I think now,
Yeah.
Looking back, I think I'll probably done it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It's tough, huh?
It's kind of tough.
This
Like, you want
is.
to get the stuff, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you don't want to attack the person's, I guess character. I guess.
Right. No, you're in an unwinnable situation if you decided your goal was to get the merchandise back. What's a different goal?
So I would say it's this is a scenario in that none of the people in the situation are thrift store employees,
Sure.
which means that none of them have been trained in what we're supposed
Absolutely.
to do. Ultimately, because this is a workplace violence prevention training, we have to recognize that we are trying to de-escalate situations.
Right.
Ultimately, it's not worth a risk of somebody getting hurt over what amounts to a $2 unicorn.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a unicorn that he stole. He allegedly stole.
Allegedly. So, thank you for saying that. I don't want anybody to feel like they didn't measure up or all that kind of stuff, but it does bring out this point, is that if you're in a certain environment on a regular basis, you're going to pick up on the likelihood that this will happen and what you should probably do about it. Does that make sense? If you're new to the shower ministry, all that goes on at the shower ministry will be something you don't fully understand, right? If you work in the thrift store, you understand the thrift store. If you work at the Mission and Recovery, you understand that dynamic really well. So we took Paul and put him into an unfamiliar situation. We basically threw him to the wolves, right? And it was unwinnable, because if your win is based on getting the merchandise back, it's going to fail pretty much every single time.
And that was my unicorn to begin with.
I thought you did fine. I mean, I love your spirit. Your heart was there. You were communicating over here. Does anybody pick up on some suggestions? Yes.
The first thing I noticed is you don't ever want to leave someone feeling cornered, and you also don't want to feel like you don't have an easy way out.
Right. That physical situation in the corner was more than a metaphor. That was a physical in the corner, and people's stress level will go up if they feel confined, and that's kind of confining. So what could we have done to address that, Joseph?
It's a really good example of why a team is super helpful in a scenario like that, because when you have literally someone that's super confrontational,
Yeah.
and then you have another guy accusing another person, it's literally 3 against 1 person that's trying to resolve everything. So that's why it's really important to even have somebody that's even coming aside, not even necessarily saying anything, because it really does do a really good job of deterring everything, settling it down.
Yes.
And if that doesn't work out, it's always good to call another team member. I understand that you're trying to resolve the situation with just one person. But as we can see, it's extremely difficult to do that. That's like a next level, and it's possible,
But you're right. It's super evident, isn't it, now, how hard it is if you're a solo person taking on a dynamic that's ever changing and ever growing.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
It just went, the situation got out of control super fast.
Yeah.
Because the guy just wasn't letting go.
He wasn't.
And so it's like hard to do anything but call the police if someone's literally starting to touch the guy. So like the thing that I would have done would have been super calm. Like, okay, let's see what this guy has to say.
Yeah.
Let's see what you have to say.
Yeah.
And then let's see if there's a rational explanation behind it, because odds are there might be a misunderstanding between you two. And just try to say it really calmly.
Could be.
May receive it or may not. If it doesn't work, just call the police.
Yeah. Malika, were you gonna?
Were they all except for one employees, or was it just?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was all except
We
for
had
one.
3 employees against you.
Yeah.
So I would have taken the guy that was being accused and asked the employees to step aside while I talked to him to get his side and listen, and then reapproach. Like, I would have separated the guy that was stealing to see what was going on before, because if the rest were employees, I mean,
Yeah.
they're not at risk. They should be acting in a manner to where I can leave them for a second, figure out what's going on, and then get whoever else's side of what was happening.
Sure. So separating.
Yeah.
Yes, Tom.
Another thing, like we were all in a corner, we was too close to him.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Chris could have said, "You're in my space."
Yeah, he could have.
He
He would have.
And he could have popped.
He could have. This was so close. This circle was so. I thought you were an a cappella group. So I was waiting for you to bust out in a song, but that's just me.
I
Yes.
was waiting for him to bust out with a weapon.
Yeah, that too.
You have no idea when you're cornering a guy in that situation. If he is a bad guy, he might have a weapon.
It is 3 against 1, but still, yeah. That 3 against 1 is like a dog pack mentality. I think if I'm Chris, I'm freaking out just because of that. Yes.
So one of the things I noticed that Paul was supposed to be the aggressor, and I couldn't really hear word for word what this Paul was saying.
Right.
But because he talks so rapidly,
Yes.
it felt like he was being aggressive too. Like I couldn't hear the words, but his demeanor seemed aggressive.
That was his role. He was supposed to.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
But I'm saying his speech, his cadence.
Okay.
Was like rapid fire.
Okay.
So although I couldn't hear the words, just the way he was speaking.
Yeah.
Felt really like he was attacking him as well.
Okay.
Like Chris or Paul?
No, yeah, you were.
You.
Because she didn't know who you were talking to, and she heard you talking, but it was everyone was talking at the same time.
That's a good point.
I think, and James should speak.
No, you're good.
So I think you pointed something out. So Paul's understanding in this scenario was that he's supposed to gently get the merchandise back, and that somehow the focus was on merchandise.
It was.
Rather than on people. Yeah. And so I think our thrift store, we have policies in place. And we do have people like Paul in our world.
We do.
Who just feel like, regardless of our policies, I love the mission so much I don't want it harmed.
Right.
And when somebody walks in the door who I don't really have confidence that they're coming to do shopping in this store. Instead of them being a customer, they're a perpetrator the moment they walk in the door.
Yep.
And when something goes wrong, I want to go after them.
Yes.
We had an employee in the past, not in our world, that literally went out to somebody's car and tried to
Pull them out?
extract the stuff from their car.
Whoa.
And it was like the world was coming to an end.
Wow.
It was not a healthy situation.
That's crazy.
Um,
Thank you for pointing that out. This is not uncommon with businesses across America right now. So policies, as you said, the Mission has theirs, so do other stores. I don't know of one that insists that you get the merchandise back. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm hearing very much the opposite. I'm hearing that the idea is to keep people from getting hurt. That's what I'm hearing. Comments?
So we had a situation once where Carol called me because the back door alarm was going off. And I didn't hear it in the office. Nobody else did. And so she said, somebody, you need to go check it or whatever. So I said, Jeff, there's something going on in the store. So Jeff and I went out there, and a guy had tried to steal a lamp or something, and he was trying to escape out. And so the employees were really good about, he's got the lamp, he's got the lamp. And so what I did was I took one and took her out of the store a little bit because customers are all hearing this. And then he took one out because my thing was I don't want everybody to freak out in the store.
Right.
And then Jeff talked with everybody and said, just call 911. Don't try to. And we watched him walk back and forth the street. We were afraid he might come back because he was really angry and talking out there.
Yeah.
So, but again, I couldn't hear it in the store, and maybe there's something we need to do in the shop, in the office. Maybe there's something we need to do that we can.
So there's more than meets the eye to that story, but there was some training that needed to happen in the situation so that it didn't need to involve Carol, nor did it need to involve you, nor did it need to involve me.
Right.
So there were 3 people that got involved after the fact, and so we worked through that. James worked through that with the staff,
Okay.
so they knew what to happen.
Absolutely.
The man was caught.
Okay.
But was that okay though to take an employee and help get her calm, kind of with a de-escalation, or?
As you saw that situation, obviously you want to be in a situation to help keep somebody calm. But the reality is that, so James walked through his training with the team after that.
Okay. Yes.
In a perfect scenario, if that person was stealing and he came up and everyone was, hey, this person's stealing, I mean, the perfect scenario would be the person would be willing to come with you maybe to your office and talk to you.
Yeah.
And then they would feel like, okay, nobody else is watching this
Right.
thing going down, so I'm not going to be embarrassed because everyone's like, oh, what's going on over there? And enough person just stuffing to survive or whatever the reasons are for stealing. I mean, sometimes there's been scenarios that I've experienced where people are more open to talk to you if it's just one-on-one privately, not everybody's watching what's going down.
Totally. That should be your strategy, by the way. What you just delineated is if you could have taken Chris and gone for a walk with him, if he went willingly, it doesn't always happen that way. You can sit down and you can do something that doesn't sound intuitive or correct, but it is. You could ask him why was he stealing the merchandise, and you may get to the root cause of the fact that he stole some shoes because he came in barefoot. All right, he stole a jacket because it's cold. He stole a blanket because he lost his blanket. He stole a bicycle because somebody stole his bicycle. Now, what does that mean? What did I just say about that? I mean, doesn't that seem like we're coddling him too much to ask him why he stole something? Am I being too liberal with this? Should I just let him listen to his concerns and he gets up and says, yeah, thank you very much, and leaves with the merchandise?
No,
yeah, you get an opportunity to minister to him when you kind of meet him where he's at. And so that's happened many times.
Yeah. You just described scenarios that have happened at Redwood Gospel.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and then we can like suggest, programs or different, the resources that we have available for us.
You find out that this person has an addiction. Yes.
Sometimes I've seen like Phil will even buy the lady a sweater himself with his own money, and it shows the spirit of God in him, and maybe they won't steal again after that,
100%. So.
Out of the kindness of his heart, he does it. I've seen him do it, and
I believe it.
I've seen the lady not steal again. So.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Wow, you're appealing to their better nature when you're doing that, Willie.
And the fact that overzealous employee made the big mistake. He's put his hands on the other person, trying to pat him down.
Yeah.
Big mistake.
Big mistake. Normally that's going to...
because they're already in a situation where they're angry at the world and
Yes.
stealing.
Yes.
So that's the wrong thing to do.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
I think in a situation like that, like as a supervisor, I think the best thing to do would be to, one, take Thomas out of the situation, because Thomas is the one that said he saw. So
Yes.
Say, Thomas, I'll handle that. Right. And then as Paul walks up, deal with Paul and be like, Paul, let me handle this situation. And then you talk with the, you talk with the gentleman or whatever. And
Perfect.
then just be like, hey, sorry that this is going on. Someone said that they saw you stealing. Is there a reason that you would steal? No, I didn't steal. It's like, okay,
Right.
I apologize about that.
Right.
Yeah, so.
That's when the pepper spray comes in handy.
So unless there's been situations where we've like actually seen people stealing, and then when that happens, we'll assess the situation like, okay, we actually saw this person stealing, we might have it on camera, and then the supervisor, whoever it is that can handle that situation, goes and talks to that individual. Usually, we don't even try to recover the stuff. We just let them know, like, hey, we saw you stealing.
Yeah.
This is our policy. You can get items for free from us.
Yes.
We have,
Yes.
we can refer you to different agencies that can give you resources, and you can get items. We have programs, and then if they're just like, I didn't steal or whatever, and be like, okay, well, we're gonna have to exit you for 30 days. You can come back and talk to me in 30 days. And
I was just going to ask you about that. So you have this sort of option of saying, look, we have you on camera stealing something. If they don't want to talk to you about it and they just leave, you just let them know, please don't come back.
Yeah.
So it's a 30-day thing, is that what I'm
Yeah, I
kind
always tell them, like, you can
Okay.
come back. You just have to come and talk to us. We'll have a conversation. Just give it
Okay,
30 days.
that's awesome. What about this one? This came up yesterday, and there was a variety of opinions on this one. So they're going to change it up a wee bit. Somebody walks in, within 2 minutes, they pick up something, and they smile at you on their way out the door. Okay? Okay, so I've changed it up. So the next thing, you're going, yeah, okay, nobody got hurt. Cool, success. They come in the next day. They steal something now of a little bit more value. They smile at you as they walk out the door.
I know what happens, but he can, yeah.
So now it's starting to get around. Do you think that will get around? That go to the mission, they don't care. It's a depot for free stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've had those situations happen very often, or we'll have like a certain individual. This happens with bikes a lot, but
Yeah.
they'll come in and steal from us, and then what we do is I always tell the employees, just if you see that person in the store again, don't engage with them. Let me know, and then or let a manager know, and then
Okay.
then I usually will go up and approach that person and just be like, hey. Last week you stole a bike,
Right.
and I can't have you in the store. If you need help, we can refer you to some agencies to get help with.
So that kind of curtails it, because when they come in for the third time,
Yeah.
or the second time, you have that conversation with them, so they don't get the idea this is a free merchandise store where you're handing out supplies.
And the
Okay.
approach too, up to that person, you always try to do it in a way that's not not accusatory, but just go up and be like, hey, brother, last
Yes.
week you came in and you took a bike,
Yep.
have it on camera. I can't have you in here doing that.
Love
We'll
it.
refer you to an agency where
Love
you
it.
can get help, but right now I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the store.
That's awesome. I love it. Yes.
One case I know about, I don't know if you know about this, but there was somebody that came in for assistance,
Mhm.
and called up about a week or two later and said someone stole all the stuff from them. And then they came into the thrift store and apparently loaded up the cart and just were trying to get out of the store. But I think something happened there. I don't know what it was.
Paul showed up.
That's right.
Yeah.
He
made stuff out of the cart.
But anyway.
Yeah.
It shows you, like, we try to help people and give them stuff.
I know.
But sometimes people do take advantage.
They do. And again, we don't want that outcome, but sometimes we can't prevent that outcome. And that's that acceptance that even though you did everything right, it doesn't always go the way you want it to go.
So we do have some loss prevention policies, but again, our focus on these is violence prevention policies.
It really is. Yes. Okay, so because we only have 20 minutes left, I do want to run another scenario, but it's going to be with this side of the room this time. So you guys are going to be kind of the observers this time. Are you cool with that? All right. So come on team. Let's go up here. You have this super sad story. You're recently homeless. You've been on the street for a little bit of time. You've developed an addiction. And I'm hoping that whoever ministers to you, the goal in this scenario is that they offer you resources, a shelter, a recovery, maybe even a meal, pray with you. And so ultimately, if they approach you in the right way, you just kind of open up and you just tell them this crazy bad life story. And their role is, like I said, number one, listen to you and take you from this state of minor agitation to one of there's hope for me because the mission's here. If they want to pray with you, they want to take you somewhere, if they want to get you some food, they want to take a walk with you, as long as their approach is decent, go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Okay. Who wants to be the, this case is slightly different. You are a thrift store employee, but you actually see him steal something. Who wants? All right, Lainey, so you're in the store, you see this guy, you don't know him.
Okay.
All right, you don't know him, but this is not a, maybe he stole some, this is like, she saw him. Okay, so, you ready? All right. Action.
Hey, I just saw you steal that.
So what?
What do you mean steal that? I saw you.
You know
You know we have a camera, right?
you have well hold.
You need to be mic'd.
You don't have any proof that I stole that, or something. I have to go.
No.
I have to go. Look, yes, okay, yeah, I did steal that, but recently I lost my family, I lost my friends, I fell into an addiction, I lost everyone in my life. I'm super hungry right now, and there's nothing else I can do. I don't know what to do in my life. So please just.
Let me buy that for you.
You're gonna buy this?
Yeah, what was it? Can I see? I'll buy that for you.
Really?
Yes.
You will?
Yes. I'll buy it for you. You don't have to steal.
Wow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you gone to the 6th Street Mission?
The what?
Have you heard of the 6th Street Mission?
What is that?
It's a mission where they
Can they like help me?
It's a place where they can help you get off the street. They can you can get your life back together. You can get a job.
Really?
They can help you rebuild your life.
That exists?
Yes.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
over on 6th Street at the mission.
Wow, I have hope now.
Let me call you with somebody. And
Thank you so much. Could you buy that soon?
Yes,
I'm really
I'll buy it
hungry.
now.
Okay.
I'll buy it now.
Thank you. That was so great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Oh wait, I'm not allowed to hug. You have to do it.
Really? Okay.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. That was awesome.
Okay.
Wow, you did a really good job. Dang.
Joseph, you did a really good job too, brother. So, how did you feel as in this situation? How did that go?
I've never been put into a scenario where I've had to like steal because I'm hungry. But I was trying to take on that role, and I figured that there wouldn't be a whole lot like really stopping me at that point,
Right.
because there's nothing for me left to like lose. So I might as well just I just dumped out on this person because I literally don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And I was just about to leave. But the fact that she was willing to like actually pay for what I stole actually shocked me, and it was like, whoa, you know. And then she offered help after that, which is exactly what I needed. So it was like, wow, okay, I actually there's a reason for me to actually change. There's like a little glimmer of like goodness in my life now.
Yeah.
So and that was because of her.
And it came in the form of Leanne. Is that your name? Lainey. My bad.
I get that all the time.
Sorry. So there is. That's where I think I mix up. So Lainey, how did that go for you? You have this smiling, positive.
I knew that I could help somebody.
Yeah, I could see that. You were eager.
Yes. It felt really heartwarming. Like, and then he actually received my kindness. Like, wow, he doesn't have to be that way, you know? That's not who God wanted him to be.
So you listened to him enough that you saw way beyond.
Maybe now he could go to the mission and learn about Jesus and get his life back together, just like how I did.
Wow. Dang.
See, that obviously came naturally for you, as I watched.
Because like you said, how that someone else in the class said, if it weren't for the mission, they'd be dead. I feel like I would be too. So it really is a big deal.
Amen. Been there, done that.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Comments. What you saw. I know you didn't see every comment that was made or watched all the interactions. How was Lainey's body language? Was it threatening?
She kept her distance, and she didn't, when he looked like he was going to beeline for the door, she didn't like try to put herself between him and the door.
No, she didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, that would have been a mistake.
Yeah, I would have just let him go.
You would have had to. Yeah, you would have had to.
I think when he was about ready to go, she goes, let me buy that for you.
That's
And
what
that
did
made
it.
him stop.
Exactly.
He went, what? You're going to buy that for me?
That's not the world that I know.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
that was good.
That was a really awesome strategy. Wayne, you have a comment?
She approached him with authority.
Okay.
Gave him forgiveness and grace.
Yeah. She didn't shy away from the issue that he actually stole something, which was interesting. That was her pathway to establishing a rapport with him. But it wasn't her mission, was it? Her mission wasn't to actually get the merchandise back. Her mission was not to punish Joseph for stealing. What was her mission? To help him. Absolutely what your mission was, yes.
I wonder if it would have been a really expensive item, what would she done?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. Would that have changed your behavior if it was expensive?
No.
No?
I don't know. I would have offered. I don't know. I would have offered to buy something similar. That was less. That was less.
That would work.
If I didn't have the money, then I'd probably say, let me get you a different jacket.
Could you get a green sticker?
Yeah. We used to give out plastic fire hats at the fire station. Not because they would steal some if we didn't, but so that's a weird reason to bring up.
Minister somehow.
You did. That was your
Share the
pathway to establishing rapport. So we don't talk about that specifically, but in every scenario that went really well, there was a pathway to establish rapport. You weren't this authority figure that was lording over him, insisting on getting the merchandise back. So your goal was a righteous goal. And that righteous goal was to help Joseph out, and you don't know what he needs yet. So what did she do that was just so otherworldly in this case? What did Lainey do? What was special about it? Why did he acquiesce? Why did he open up to her? Why did he spill his personal story out for her? Asked him about his needs.
She showed love.
Showed love. L-O-V-E. Love and respect. I thought that was wonderful. I thought you did a really, really good job.
Yes.
I mean that. Come on. Yeah. Thank you, brother. I appreciate your role. You lived it really, really well there. I love that. All right, so it's 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes to noon, so just a couple final words. I want to leave you with the idea that what we just did doesn't require a director, a producer, a videographer. You actually can do these things on a regular basis. You don't need a script, you don't need paperwork, you don't need curriculum. Do you see how that works? That was one of my major goals here, is to show you that although role-playing is a dynamic training activity, you guys can cook one of these situations up anytime you want. And it could be so much as interpersonal conflict. So if you have an employee that you're having issues with that really needs to get resolved, you can role play that out in a training session. You can actually go into a different physical environment that's more authentic. It makes it more real. You guys are fully capable of setting up this training on your own without me. You really are. What I did wasn't magical. It wasn't magical at all. But it's going to take a willingness to do it. Sometimes that means there was an increase in assaults in the shower ministry. It could be an increase in thefts from the thrift store. It could be that the employees are squabbling. It could be a lot of things that prompts. I just want to put that on your radar so there's this sort of trigger. There's a lot of reasons to do role playing in the work that you guys do. I mean it. You can change it a wee bit and do a management training on it, a staff training, a facility training. You can change it up. Sky's the limit. Let your creativity take over. Role playing is not a perfect science. You saw that. We didn't evaluate every single thing that happened. You don't need to. It doesn't need to be intimidating. It can be done safely. And we all benefit from it. Even if you weren't part of it, you saw it play out. You're transported during that time. That's how dynamic it is. So I hope that at the end of the day that you feel as though you spent the last 4 hours and it was valuable. I'm always reachable if you have some comments for me. There's not enough time right now unless you want to hang out during your lunchtime, but if you have ideas for how I could improve the delivery of this information, I'm all ears. I'm not, I have broad shoulders. I don't do everything perfect. I accept that. I'm a work in progress, so I won't be offended if you have something to say that you'd like to see done differently. I mean that. But as we close, would anybody here like to close this in prayer? It shouldn't always be me, right? Anybody? Joseph.
Lord Jesus, thank you so much for all that you do for us, Lord God. Thank you for your mercy. I just pray that we'd be more after the concern of these people's souls, Lord, that we may encounter here. Help us to really have the courage and the love for you, Lord, just to reach out to this person in love and to do exactly what you've demonstrated us, Lord, for a dear brother, Lord. We just ask you, please, just grant us the strength and love for these people, just to treat them how you treat them, Lord Jesus, like how you treated us, Lord. It's in your name, Jesus, we pray.
Amen. Thanks, you guys. It's been a blessing to be with you today. I mean that sincerely. And I hope to see you soon. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.